I'm doing what's called a hard mono foundation. It's a Dave Whitlock technique. Can you hear me? Not really. I'll speak up a little bit louder. It's a Dave Whitlock technique. So it's nothing new, but there's not a lot of people that I guess study what he's done. There's a lot, but the majority of deer hair people will just get into deer hair tying without taking this step. And this is a step that increases durability in your flies. And basically that's what I'm doing right here. It involves using Mason's hard type nylon, all right? GSP, which is what we want to be using for deer hair in general too. That's the choice thread. And the use of Zap-A-Gap, and then what's called Dave's Flexament. And the combination of those creates a real solid fly. The chemicals work together, and so that sometimes if you Dave Whitlock, he knew all that stuff. I'm not a scientist or anything, but he was, and they complement each other. Whereas sometimes if you were to use two different types of glues, they might not actually bond together, all right? So using this, the Zap-A-Gap and the Dave's Flexament. I think you can get Dave's Flexament from Wapsie. Is that right?
Yep, Wapsie. They're the only ones that carry that actual.
Yeah. And we usually have this mixed up. They have a thin, and then a thick. Which I don't know that I'll use the thick very much, but I'll use the thin. But when you're done, that basically is used to seal the base of our flies. It penetrates through the deer hair to the point to where it goes down and it actually touches the hard mono foundation. Then when it cures, your fly is sealed from your shank all the way out through the deer hair. So it just gives you much more durability. When I started using, there's a Tyer, his name is Alan Rupp, a great Tyer, and he was actually an understudy of Dave Whitlock. And I was already tying deer hair, and I was already tying deer hair on a pretty high level, and I was just using a good thread base to build my build my deer hair on top. And fortunate enough that my family has a ranch with some stock ponds with some bass, so I'm able to go down and catch bass pretty easily, big largemouth bass, and basically hone in my flies. That's probably the best way. Is like after you tie your flies, you go fish with it, and then you make adjustments, and then your fly eventually gets better and better and better. That's probably getting through. When I was first tying 5 to 10 big bass before I started noticing that my deer hair was failing. It was about time to retire the fly. Alan Rupp insisted on myself and Joe Jackson using the hard mono foundation, and we're like, okay, we'll do it.
It was like 4 days after Dave passed away.
Yeah.
And I was vocal about not wanting to learn it. I actually told Dave to his face I didn't want him to know it because I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground, and I was getting popular. I was like, I can't deviate from what I'm doing. And Alan called me and Jeff and made us do it.
Yeah. So once I used that, and then I started going to test my flies out, I instantly went from with each one of my flies to catching 50 bass per fly. So it's a game changer. All right. Basically, when you're going to do your hard mono foundation, you probably want to sit down maybe when you have some extra time where you're not going to tie a fly, you're just going to sit there and push out hard mono foundations. And then you've got a little container that has it gives it 24 hours also to cure, which it really needs. And then you're ready to go and then do your deer hair on top of that. And if you have time, you could just do the hard mono foundation and then start on your deer hair. But if you prep all your hooks beforehand, you get into being a more efficient when you're tying, and it doesn't take you, all day to tie one deer hair fly. But that's what I'm doing right now, is putting on a hard mono foundation. And did you prep all those hooks?
I did.
So that you don't have to do that.
They don't. They do have to do it.
Okay.
So I have a huge box of whiting hackle. I was going to give out a couple hackles today, and it's got my vise and all the prepped hooks that I've worked on all week, and it's at the hotel. So we were gonna skip that, but you're actually gonna learn it today, and it's my fault. So you gave hooks already?
Yes.
All right. Learn something new.
I know. We were gonna skip it, but it is vital. It changed how I tie deer hair.
All right. Well, once Joe gets ready, we'll kind of get into that. And
Also, if you guys are into tying trout flies, Nature Spirit, the owner of Nature Spirit sent me a whole bunch of moose mane. Good stuff. He just had excess. Help yourself to this up here. I don't want to take any of it home. As soon as I find the heart drawn out.
Yeah, y'all can see that all right. I usually take on mine. I'm tying the deer hair like this, and this is not the only way to tie deer hair. Tying deer hair this dense and stuff. This is what I like to do. Pros and cons of doing it that way. Some of the guys would go with a little bit looser hair on their fly, easier to cast. I think that mine lean toward being more durable, but it's a heavier fly, you know. So you have to it's whatever you like to do. But because I do pack on so much deer hair is light. But my fly versus a Dave Whitlock fly, I probably have 5 times as much hair on this fly as what Dave. And deer hair is light, but that's putting on a little bit of extra weight. And so when we look at our hook, all right here, and your kill on this hook, whatever, if you were to just put it naturally in the water, all right, the hook point is gonna go down, right? Because you have from your line straight across, you have a straight line, and then you look at where the weight is on the hook. That's why when you have like bent back hooks, if you look at that, then you look and most of the weight is on the opposite, on the top side of the hook, or the weight is on the underside. So the point go, on a bent back hook. The point, it's a hook up fly. But I always want to make sure that obviously when I'm casting out a topwater fly that I want my hook down in the water. And so you've got a problem with your balance if your fly is laying it upside down. And it may happen every now and then, a little tug on your first strip, and then your fly rights. But so what I usually do when I'm doing denser hair is I usually add a little bit of lead towards the back of the hook like this. And what that does, and that's around the bend, if y'all can see that, there's about 5 wraps of 0.09 millimeter lead-free wire. And for me, what that does is that just that helps make sure that my fly is not going to land upside down in the water. And so if you're tying and you're not going as dense, and like I said, that's a preference type of a deal. You may not have that problem if you don't have as much deer hair packed onto the fly. And so I guess I can show you guys. No reason to rush. It's okay right now. You don't have to do that. But pass around or borrow your friend's Zap-A-Gap. After you do this step right here, then do a coat of Zap-A-Gap. But when you're doing it at home, you're probably going to want to put some Zap down first and then go over it and then cut it with Zap again. And then Zap dries pretty fast, so that's why you got to lay it down and then you got to get your work done. All right. So you get Zap-A-Gap on your fingers, rub your fingers like this. And you won't even notice that you have it on your fingers, all right?
Do we have something to put on it now?
What's that?
Are we putting that on here now?
Since not everyone has Zap-A-Gap, just go ahead and start tying this as I instruct it, and you can put some Zap-A-Gap on it after you're done, and it'll work just fine. But probably the best way when you start doing this on your own, there's videos that you can reference to the Hard Mono Foundation. I've put out some videos. I put a recent video or instructions is on, if y'all get onto Jay Stockard, there's a step-by-step on Jay Stockard where I'm doing this, so you can reference that, so you don't have to take notes and stuff right now. But the best way would be if you use your Zap-A-Gap first, but since not everyone has any, let's just go ahead and tie it, and then you guys share, find some Zap-A-Gap. Not dripping. Be careful when you're doing Zap-A-Gap too. Like when you want to try to keep as much Zap-A-Gap in the bottle rather than dripping over the sides of the nozzle. And then just a light little coating. So let me tie this off real quick, and then I'll do another one real quick, and we'll go step by step together. You get pretty quick at doing these. Like I said, it's better if you have some time to go ahead and sit down and tie you off about 10 hard mono foundations, and then do your deer hair rather than doing a hard mono foundation, your deer hair. It slows you down. And that's one of the things about deer doing like flies like this is, when I'm doing something fancy like this, it takes me 90 minutes to do a fly like that. Probably 45 minutes if I'm not getting fancy. Joe's a lot faster. Joe can hammer them out in 15, 20 minutes. But that's a long time for a fly, right? So learning how to be efficient is important when you're tying little this and that. And if you have the time, it's not for you, then go at your own slow pace, which is fine. And I think that I fit into the slow pace category myself. So, but it's a disorder. I in my mind, I try to do everything perfect, never achieving perfection, but aiming for it, right? So. And I'm using these tools. If you ever have any question about any of my tools, ask me to them. Okay. So now we'll walk through the steps here and you guys can follow. All right. Like I said, I use the extra weight. You don't have to mess with that right now. I kind of show on my step-by-step how to do that on the J Stalker. But for now, y'all don't have to do this, the kill weight on the back. But I usually do that. And okay, so we've already gone through this. A few scratches. Like I said, you don't have to really, just a few scratches. You don't have to scratch the heck out of it. And that's good enough to add to the durability. So usually when I'm doing this, get my thread started. I think we went over GSP is the thread to use for deer hair. I specifically use the Semperfly. There's a lot of GSPs out there that you can use. Use whatever you like. I think that the Nano Silk is stronger than anything else that's out there. So I helped Semperfly work on the development of this 300 denier Nano Silk, which was kind of fun, which sounds kind of scary because I think 200 denier was kind of the standard for doing deer hair and stuff, and a lot of people are intimidated by that big of a thread. But this is 300 denier. But because it's Nano Silk, it has a smaller diameter, and honestly, I can, like at the front, I've got that fly that I showed you. I'll have 2 whip finishes on the front of this, and you can't even see the thread. So Nano Silk with enough pressure after you do your whip finish kind of disappears, So it's not too big. At this point, and y'all don't have to do this, but I'll go ahead and show you how I do it. Then I would go ahead and do a little bit of Zap-A-Gap on the bare shank. Zap-A-Gap does penetrate through the GSP, and this is probably the best way to do it, but doing the Zap-A-Gap afterwards, you're probably gonna get close to the same result. Rub your fingers together fast too, or you will bond your fingers. That always kind of ends up being a problem with glues and Zap-A-Gap getting it on your fingers, and the quickest thing to do is to kind of rub it out real thin, and then you don't have like a rough spot on your fingers too from where it dries. So coming down, being that I'm not putting this weight and the keel on it, then I'm going to go ahead and come right back up. And at this point, and I'm always I put my thumb to kind of support the hook shank so I don't bend it out. And then I'm pulling down with some pretty heavy pressure right there to make sure that there's no slack in your line. And we're talking about a fraction of a millimeter. That's enough for your deer hair to come loose. So we want, I guess, what you call, your no slack whatsoever. I don't know what the term for that would be, but okay, taut, terminal. Coming back up, and then get back up to the eye, and not all the way against the eye. Now you can tie all the way up to the eye, and then back it off half a millimeter, and that's where we're going to start our hard mono. Everyone has this, if you haven't already started it, your hard mono. Got your little tabs. Let me do mine on this one. These tabs just make it easier for me. You don't have to do this step. This is something that I added, and Dave Whitlock didn't do it. Alan Rupp doesn't do it. I don't think Joe does it either. It's just one of my steps. But it makes it easier. And I'm going to run it down on the far side of the hook first, right? But another thing, I'm going to add a little bit of glue, but you can add it afterwards. But when you start doing it yourself, when you have your own little bottle of Zap-A-Gap, you want to do everything like I'm doing it here. So I can lay this first tab, kind of holding this thread, securing it like with my pinky so it doesn't wrap back around and touch the glue on the shank. But we'll put this tab sideways on the side, up here towards the eye, and then one wrap, and the wrap kind of grabs that tab and pulls it up on the side of the shank. Like, if you guys can see that, like that. And then you can go ahead and take the other tab, like this right here, on the other side of the shank in the same place, and then wrap it and grab it. And it's going to look like that. Okay? And that's where the tabs kind of hold it. The tabs hold it on the sides. If it's round, it just has a tendency to roll a little bit. The tabs seem to hold it right in place where you're going to put it. And then what I do, and I'm not going to, at this point where we're going to wrap back, you don't have to go real tight on this step right here, all right? We'll come back up and then we'll put our tension on. What we just want to do right here is get the mono held in place, and I can say lightly, but don't pull too hard on this or your little tabs will come back out. So open your thread up, open and close, all right? On your thread in general, counter spinning your bobbin opens your thread up, the individual deniers, and that's where your thread will lay flat, right? And you'll kind of see counter spin it, and then clockwise spin to cord it back up. And what I'm going to do is once it's flat, I'm just going to kind of hold just a little bit of tension on the mono, and then I'm going to wrap all the way back to about the hook bend. And if it's not, when I hold a little bit of tension on it like this right here, it'll kind of keep one side of the filament on one side of the shank, the other on the other. But we're trying to keep it, like I said, pretty even on one side, so that you have kind of it looks like, rather than have your round shank, you have like a flat platform to build onto. And that's one bonus too to the hard mono foundation, is it keeps your deer hair from spinning around the shank when you don't want it to. But yeah, you can spin deer hair on it too. So once we get some pressure put on it, it really holds your deer hair in place. I'm doing like my spots and stuff. A lot of people, when they do their spots, when they're done with the fly, they kind of Rubik's Cube their spots back straight. With the hard mono foundation, when I put my spots on the top, because it's a flat surface, when I cinch it down, it holds all your deer hair on top where I want it, and it keeps it from rolling around the shank. Where you won't get that if you just have a regular hook shank without the mono. Your materials tend to constantly want to rotate right in front of you, and because you have to use a lot of pressure with deer hair. So the hard mono foundation kind of helps hold everything in place, and then like when I'm doing my spots and stuff, they just automatically line up. So come back to where you started your thread. Make a couple of wraps forward. That's always good with GSP before you cut the excess off here and get pretty close to the back. It's all right to have a little bit of the tab stick out. And then now I've ran monofilament on either side. Raise your hand if you're having a problem with it, and I'll walk over and help you. Or and like I said, you guys are confused with what I'm doing a little bit, it's better to go ahead and raise your hand and let me know, and I can come and help explain it. But it seems like everyone has it figured out. Once you got your excess trimmed off, we're going to work back up to the eye. And this is where we start putting some tension on it right here. You know, kind of look at it and make sure that you have it. This would be a nice time to straighten it up and make sure, because we did it kind of loose, to kind of straighten up the mono and make sure that it's pretty much even on both sides of the hook shank. Once you're satisfied and you think you got it pretty even, we're going to start working our way up. And here's the way I do it. And I like to, like I said, at this point, I like to go ahead and put some Zap-A-Gap down more. A thin coat. Y'all don't have to do it right now, but when you, like I said, when you start doing it on your own, put on lots of Zap-A-Gap. I like to come up, working my way back up. I like to do about 3 wraps, and then I usually say I put my thumb on the eye right here to keep from bending the hook out, and then I cinch down pretty hard, and I turn my rotary vise. I turn it sideways, so I'm not like this. So when I'm cinching down, you have a less problem with it twisting your monofilament now. But a nice tight pull, 3 more wraps. Nice tight pull, 3 more wraps. Nice tight pull, repeating this process all the way up to the eye. And you'll see that GSP kind of sink down and disappear when you're putting on the right amount of pressure. Don't go too tight, all right? Just enough to where you kind of see the GSP, you'll kind of see it kind of sink down just a little bit. Constantly kind of, every now and then do a few spins to get your thread back to flat. Every full rotation that we're doing, that you tie, you're twisting your thread twice. So if I did 10 wraps, I need to spin my bobbin back 20 times to get it back flat, basically. So, but that's something you don't want to sit there and count that stuff. You just want to look at it, and you can get to a point where you twist your thread too much, it starts cording it up back the other direction. All right. So the best thing is to let a little pressure off, and you can kind of see, you'll see that your thread is flat, and if it's corded up, then it stays just real nice and tight. So there's times when you want to do that too. You get back up to the eye, and that's a good point right here to whip finish up at the eye, or do your hand whip finish, or. And what I usually do when I'm doing these is, like I said, I'm going one after another, so I'll go ahead and cut the thread off, and then let it sit there and kind of cure. Last step, and you guys want to kind of share your Zap-A-Gaps a little bit. Put a nice little coat of Zap-A-Gap over the mono base, and that's when we're talking about durability. That's probably one of the most important first steps, or probably the most important step overall to tying good, durable deer hair, is that right there. Okay, I'm going to walk around just a little bit while we wait on Joe and see how y'all are doing.
What we're doing, and then another really good hot tip, if you're just starting out tying, and that's anything, deer hair, trout flies, put a mirror, tie with a mirror on the other side of yourself. That way you can see what's going on this side. One of my biggest issues with deer hair, even though I was already an acclaimed tyer, was I'd always have a void on this side, right at the collar. It was just a negative space that I could never figure out. Jeff fixed it for me after we met for 15 minutes. He's like, this is what you're doing wrong. But I would have noticed it a lot sooner had I been tying with a mirror. I could see everything that's going on over here pretty good, but not so much over here unless I'm just constantly flipping the vise. But tying with a mirror will help you progress a lot more rapidly because you'll catch your mistakes as you make them instead of 3 steps down, which is a pain with deer hair. So the tools, you went over scissors and the good quality scissors. I was a Dr. Slick Pro for many years, and they were paying me to use their stuff, and I love them. They're great economy scissors. However, I used a 25-year-old pair of these Reno-Meds that are way out of my budget, and they cut better than my brand new out-of-the-pack deer hair Dr. Slicks that were 25 bucks. Now these are great, I love them, but I quit their team to use these that I actually have to pay for. That's how much I believe in them. We got hair packers. He uses Stone Foe. There's 30 or 40 on the market. I prefer the Fugly Packer. I've been using this since I started 9 years ago, and it's just a beast. A lot of people will say you can't tie really tight hair with that because you need something you can get a hold of and put some muscle into. And clearly Jeff's one of the best in the world when it comes to packing tight hair with that tiny little tool. And something you can do with that over this is you can half hitch off of that and you can't off of this. And he'll go into that later. And another thing, me and Jeff are an open book when it comes to deer hair, especially if you sat through one of our classes. So if you're on social media, or if you're not on social media, John, they'll give you my phone number. If you want to call me and ask me questions, or get on social media and ask Jeff a question, most of the time if we're free, we'll just be like, hey, you want a video chat, and I'll walk you through it. We're very much an open book. We went over the need for this. The deer hair comb. The reason you want to have a deer hair comb, it's multifaceted. There's guard hairs and there's underfur. If you don't get rid of the underfur, it's going to be really hard to trim. As soon as your bug gets wet, no matter how tight you pack it, that underfur is going to absorb water. When it absorbs water, it expands, and it'll still fish the rest of that day. But as soon as it dries off on your dash, wherever you properly dry your flies, it's going to shrink, and you're going to leave a void, just open thread where it's pushed out, and you're not going to extend the life of your bug. You won't extend it with Zap-A-Gap or anything. You've just created a structural error. So getting out that underfur is going to make the trimming easier, and it's going to extend the life of your bug. And I'm going to show you guys a way. In case you haven't noticed, I'm notorious for forgetting stuff because I'm absent-minded and I had a bunch of head injuries. And so I forgot my comb a couple times. I know you guys are without a comb. So we're going to show you when we start tying how to get that underfur out without using a comb. The cleaning ladies just are not going to like us. Or cleaning males as well, whoever does it.
We won't get invited back.
We won't. Which is cool. We need to expand and make this event bigger. You need a good bodkin. You need a couple of them. I got this sweet, I think this is a 270. 270. I like my 308 better. It's my favorite cartridge. Anyway, take a embroidery needle and just throw some epoxy in or make your own. It's way cooler than going buying a generic one. You want one that's kind of limp. This is pretty much for my glues and resins. And then I have a heavier duty one that I use to put into the hair between the stacks and pull out the captured hairs. We'll get into that later too. The difference in bobbins. You want a ridiculously heavy bobbin. This is somewhere you don't want to skimp. I've had Loon. Loon has sent me a care package of stuff they wanted me to try out, and it's a really nice, it's one of the most comfortable bobbins I ever used. However, when I'm cranking down on that hair, I actually bend the shank because it's aluminum. You want a really good heavy steel This is a right bobbin, the Magnum. This is the one I've used pretty much my entire career of tying. However, I'm going to upgrade to that one because I just had an injury to my hand, and this one doesn't have much space. There's just not meat to hold it. What I like about this is it's very much open right there, so when I'm flaring my hair, I can palm it and stop the thread from moving. You can do it with that one. It's going to be a little bit different from me, but I think having a heavier bobbin with more meat to hold on to is going to actually improve my technique and keep me back at the vise until I get plastic surgery on my hand. Another tool we're going to go into is a steamer. You can use a kettle pot. Kettle pots will ruin any flash you have in your fly and burn your fingers if you're not real careful. This one you can plug in right underneath your vise. I had actually quit using one of these because I was more into cranking out as many flies as possible, as fast as possible. And then when me and Jeff started hanging out, everybody's like, damn, Jeff's flies just look so much nicer than you. And I was like, shit. So I had to start evolving, and I got back to my roots. Instead of using the kettle, Jeff had the brilliant idea of getting on Amazon, spending 20 bucks on one of these. I stole this one from my wife, and it's a game changer. Another hot tip, if you got old hackle that's a little bit brittle, bam, hit it. It will bring it back to life. If you got some hackle that's twisted or all jacked up, hit it with the steamer. It'll bring it back to life. Your dry flies that are already on the hook, as long as you don't have any synthetics, you can put it on low. You can hit those and bring that hackle back to life, or any ungulate hair that's hollow. Moose mane we have up here. Don't forget to grab some. Calf tail, it'll bring it all back to life. Because we're fly tyers. We rather fish though. I'm an obsessed fly tyer. I would rather fish. I don't want to spend all my time at the vise replacing all the crap that I've lost on the river. I'd rather just hit it with this and keep it going. Vise, your vise is definitely going to be a personal preference. I've used several vices. I settled on Regal because it's just my favorite vise. Jeff ties on a Stonefall. I think at the end of the day, if you get really proficient at tying and it's something you're going to do all the time and never stop, you're going to end up on a Regal, a Stonefall, a Renzetti, or a Dynaking. It's just the top four. They're the best. They're going to hold every hook that you put in your vise. And Regals are weird. Like with my hook jaws, they're my favorite just because they're really versatile. But in the front, it's gonna fall down. They have a jaw for these bigger predator hooks. I just tie mine back there, and it's not gonna move. But at the shows, which is what I'm preparing for after this, I might go from tying a 22 Film Critic dry fly to a 9/0 saltwater beast fly. It's just whatever people ask me to do. So I like tying with this hook jaw. You want to make sure your jaw is really going to hold this hook, and it's dangerous. And these bigger packers too that have the guards. When I first started tying, Healing Waters provided everything for me, and the basics, the stuff that I needed to tie, and everybody told me to get a fugly packer, and it'll change the game. And I was like, nah, I ain't spending $60 on a piece of fly tying equipment. That's stupid. That's a waste. I'll just use my brassy. And one day, I was packing. I was using the standard jaws, so my hook was in the tip, and I was using a 4/0. I was with Partridge in CS86X, giant barbed predator hook. I was packing the crap out of it, and I slipped with that brassy, and I jammed all the way past the barb. I got this wicked scar right there. It's pretty gnarly. All the way under my knuckle. Oh yeah, it was sweet. No one was home, so I wasn't too embarrassed about it. But my phone was over there, so I didn't get to film it. It would have been good content to have my thumb stuck in, because all I did was pop it out, which sucked. It sucked. Anyway, I sent the video to the wife. I was like, look at this. She's like, you're an idiot. What did you do? And I told her, and she's like, I'm going to Fly Masters in Indianapolis, and I'm going to buy you one of them stupid tools. And I had been tying for 4 months. And then actually, 2 of my mentors are here. I don't know if they're in this room now, but my fly tying with deer hair went from being pretty good to fairly advanced rapidly because of this tool. But it's got a lot of meat, and you can just push a lot of weight into it. More importantly, this ain't here so you can put pressure. This is here for when you slip and it catches. You can see it's got the marks where it's saved my thumb a few times. But I think that's no razor blades. Razor blades. You can buy the really expensive ones at the fly shop. I think they're like $10 for 5 or 5 for 10 or something like that. Or you can do what I told John to do. Just get on Amazon, get the Astra ones. Those are the standard stainless. Superior platinum. They are coated. They're a smidge thicker than the blue ones. Jeff just turned me on to the blue Astra. But you're looking at $17, $19 for 300 of them. Or you can go to support your local business and give them $10 for 5. Whatever you want to do. I love local business, but I also like spending $17 on 300 instead of 5 for 10. A good sharps container is something you want to have, especially if you got kiddos running around. I don't know if Jeff has his. The little tool that holds your razor blade that'll hold it in an arch for you. Stoneflow makes a good one. I got one in the mail one time. I used it for a few weeks. It did speed up my tying and it made it more consistent. However, my little girl, if you guys follow me on social media, you definitely know her. She's my best buddy. I call her Bear. She was probably 4 at the time. She's 12 now. And I was sitting there trimming this hair bug. She ran up behind me, excited about something. It's irrelevant. But that razor blade popped out of that tool and flew right between my face and hers, 1,000 freaking mile an hour, and stuck in the wall 12 feet behind me. And so I quit using them. They are, I don't know if I put it in wrong. I don't think you can possibly put them in wrong. There's only one way to put them in. But I'm scared to use the product. I know a lot of people that use them with no problems. I just always do that PSA because I don't want to feel bad if I learn that one of you guys stuck yourself in the neck or something. You know what I'm saying? The sharp container. I think that's it for tools.
Thanks, Joe.
Anybody got any questions on tools?
I don't got a question, but I got a tip maybe.
What's that?
You know, instead of using that full double-edged razor blade in your holder, just bust it in half with pliers and you have one less sharp half.
I'll show you a
Jeff
cool way.
Jeff does that. That's part of his tying plan.
So that you don't have to use pliers.
He's talking about bending.
Bend them in the pack.
So it's dangerous to do this unless you do it the way I'm about to show you. Put your little flanges. Leave it in the package, in this little wrapper.
Your mic's not on.
That's all right. I'll talk. Leave it inside the package right here, and
For the
then.
camera. Please.
You see? Leave it in the wrapper, and then snap it in the paper. Don't try to do it, or if you're not going to do that, your method works.
Just do a needle nose.
Just so you don't cut yourself like a real nasty cut. And that's cool, breaking them like that too. Also, like if you get into making curved cuts and you want to get stuff, you can bend the blade a lot with a tighter radius. So that's all kind of advanced stuff. I kind of teach, and I didn't bring my full setup, but I kind of teach people to use a magnet pad, which is a magnet pad that you can lay down. Always keep your razor blades on that magnet pad, because your worst cuts that come from a razor blade are when you misplace a blade and you brush your hand across it. I don't even like thinking about it, but I've done it. I've done it in front of 30 people before, trying to fly, and get the super glue real fast. But actually, I bring a kit with me that has septic, liquid, and you get that at like nail, where ladies do nails, or get the stuff that they use like at a pet store, the powder septic. Get the because you're going to cut yourself, so you're going to use razor blades. Get the bleeding stop first with some septic, right? Then use your super glue. Because if you try to go straight in with super glue on it and there's blood there already, then it just the blood keeps on kind of seeping out. If you use some septic, and then you can get the blood stop the flow. Then you can just put a little super glue on it and keep on going. So,
Hey, do we got anybody here on blood thinners? I hate to ask that, but I had heart surgery and I was on blood thinners for quite a while.
Yep.
I want you to be super duper careful, guys. All right.
you don't have to use razor blades. Dave Whitlock would just trim with scissors. Because he cut himself real bad at one point, so I'm not doing that anymore.
Do we have anybody in here that's never tied before? Or just started tying in the past few weeks? All right, if you guys need anything, Jeff's going to be doing most of the tying. I'm going to show you guys how to fix your mistakes. I will have time to float around and help anyone out if you get stuck. And if it's a really good mess up, it's going to be awesome because it's going to make my job easier. We'll bring the camera over and we'll put it right on you, and I'll show you how to fix it right then and there. You guys got chenille for mop material, and I'm going to show you how to turn it into mop material. It's the exact same thing. I have bags and bags of this crap because I just go buy rugs that I find, and I give my daughter $10 an hour to cut them up for me. And so it's awesome. It doesn't work anymore because she's a preteen, and now she thinks she can negotiate, and so I just cut it myself. So everybody's seen the little bug that I had pass around.
Hold it right in front of your jaw.
Oh yeah, sorry, I have a bad habit of not paying attention to the camera at all. That's a fishing bug. That's not for Instagram. It's not to brag about. It's to when you brag about this fly, it's going to be in the face of a fish. That's what you want to aim for perfection. And like this is something that'll fish for a really long time once we put the glue on it and we let it cure. A lot of the stuff you see me and Jeff post, we do fish those flies, but my perfect, absolute perfection flies, I tie them and I put that effort in to sell them. Jeff just oozes perfection, so that he fishes them. Like he'll fish this. I would be like, I'd smack him and be like, no, that's perfect. That's a wall hanger. So we're gonna put our hook in. We're not going to put any flash in today. I rarely put flash in any of my hair bugs because light generally don't come from below. And so once again, that's just us wasting material and giving it to corporations. In my opinion, I'm not supposed to say that, but that's how it is. Make sure your hook's real good and stable in the vise. And then your thread is hopefully Simperfly 200 denier or 300 denier. Is that what they're using?
Yeah, I'd say bare minimum is 100 denier.
Yeah.
But 200 is probably better, and then the 300 is even better.
Yeah, I'm using 300 right now. The reason you want to use Simperfly, I am not affiliated with them all. Actually, I got bad blood with them. Jeff's one of their pro staffers. Even though I got bad blood with them, this is gold to me. You can use Kevlar, which is what I started with. It's garbage. It's good for helmets and flak vest, not fly tying. You can use, I never trash companies, but if you use the GSP from any of the other GSPs, it really gunks up the tube of your bobbin over time. And I used to be a tattoo artist, so I have the equipment to clean them. You boil them, and you take those tiny little scrub brushes and do that. So if you're so inclined to do that all the time and invest in some tattoo equipment, use that other stuff. This thread is expensive, but it's worth its weight in gold in with deer hair. Even their 18-aught for trout flies. Some of the stuff we're going to teach you today, you can implement it with your trout flies. Putting a muddler head on is exactly like putting one stack on a hair bug. And I use deer hair for the bodies of mayflies, the large drakes. If we have time, I might be able to go over that. But you're going to start in the back. And is everybody going to follow along? Sure. All right, so yeah, go ahead and try to follow along with me. I'm going to go snail slow. So just start right at the tip and go back to the barb. And then we're going to get out some of our chenille.
Raise your hand if you need any help, and I'll.
You don't have chenille? And
There's one pack on each row, so if you can pass it down, cut off what you need.
And if you don't have matching collars for your fly, don't worry about it. What I do want you to focus on is use them in the same order. Yeah, that's fine.
How much chenille we need, how long?
Well, I'm gonna show you real quick. As soon as everybody's got some. This is not. What brand is this?
No, what you have is fine.
Well, normally I would tell you to. I've never used this brand before. I'm using what you guys use. Normally you would want to peel out the fluff, but it feels like it's bringing the core out too, which is making it not going to work. Anyway, pinch it really tight. We're going to just adapt and overcome. You should get 2 little tail ends. Then I want you to take both those tail ends and just tie them in. And then clip off the excess. Just
You'll want to speak loud for the people in the back.
Okay. Hey, just throw a brick at me or something if I go too fast.
Where are the bricks?
Dietz told me there would be bricks. So yell at him if there's no bricks.
Yeah.
White too, right?
You can't, yeah, any color you want.
Yeah, this isn't gonna work. It just pulled out.
If you want me to, I can go and hand out everybody some of
Just
this.
one, yeah, let's just do that. Give me a handful.
We're just gonna hand out these, and y'all use this instead of the Chanel.
I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to turn that mop material or that chenille into mop material. But I'm just gonna pull it right off my vise. I don't do it. It doesn't last as long. But if you're gonna turn it into the mop material, you'll just tie the whole thing in without worrying about those tag ends. It's gonna make it ugly and it's gonna make your fly bulky. Pull out about that much, cut it, and then you're gonna meticulously just twist this. Can you see? There we go. Just twist it. And then when you think you got enough, you're gonna go twice as long as you want your legs to be and just go down to the base. And it should twist up. I didn't twist it enough.
This is called furling.
Furling. What I do use the chenille for outside of bass bugging, you guys will probably use this, take a longer version.
Use that, and then twist it on that, on your scissors.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It helps.
You can make a bass worm. If any of you guys are conventional, throw a bead, a nice tungsten bead on the front, make a really long mop. Now you got a bass worm. That's how I tie bass worms. But that's how you make mop legs. But we'll just use the real deal. This used to be a rug. Where'd mine go? Right here. So now what we're gonna do is find the end that's been cut. Where the hell's my hand at?
You see how you just go
There you go.
Jaws.
And pull out some of the fluff, and you'll get 4 little tag ends. And I want you to twist them, and you'll get a little point, and just do 2 loose locking wraps and tie them in right there between the barb and the tip of the hook. And you want it to be on the outside of your hook, like so. Then you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side.
Raise your hands if you need any help, anybody.
I just think we need to slow down a little bit.
Okay.
We got one.
Mm-hmm.
You only got one?
I got two. They're falling apart, so.
When you pull it out, you should be able to, let me just pull this one all the way out. When you pull out the fluff, if you're holding on to it, you should just get
4 little strings.
4 little strings.
And then your strings are being tied in at
Yep.
the barb,
Yep, you want it between the barb and the tip of the hooks where you want it to land.
Okay.
So once you got those 4 little strings, I just give it a twist so it looks like a cone. And then I'll tie it in. And that's 2 loose wraps, and then I'll tighten it.
So-
Hey, if we use a term that you guys don't know, because you're new, let us know so we can explain it.
Yeah, we might not be new and still not know it.
So for those that didn't see, when you hold it up, take the material between your nails, your fingernails.
Yep.
And pull a little bit off until you find the cords.
Like that. That's something you should do for every mop fly that you tie. If you're tying it for trout, you're tying a soft tackle one, you should always pull out and get that cordage and give it a twist to lock it in place. It's going to keep it from unfurling.
Same with your chenille.
Yes. Unless it's the chenille that we had today, because apparently it just comes apart. But if you tie in all that material, it's going to have a nice big caboose, which we don't want. So, right, I'm just going to have them do a thread ball, a thread dam right there, because they don't have hackle.
I think we're caught up.
All right.
Oh, you're okay.
So normally I would put hackle right here, which normally gets cut off. But I don't want you guys worrying about the hackle in your way when we're trimming the deer hair. So what I want you to do, and this is how I generally tie mine. It's not for show anyway, because it's redundant to add to hackle. I want to throw a big thread dam. We're just going to create a nice big ball of thread right there, and then we're going to whip finish it right at your tie-in point, and make sure it does not go in front of the barb.
This isn't on.
No, it wouldn't turn off, so I'll turn it on when right before we need it.
All right.
I'll plug it in.
Cool.
All right, once you have that ball thread, take your whip finisher or hand whip. I don't know how to use a whip finisher, so I just hand whip. If you want to learn how to hand whip, talk to me when we're done. I'll teach you, because I think it's the best thing ever. We're going to whip finish right there on top of that ball. And then Jeff's going to start teaching the basics of deer hair. So when Jeff does his stack, we'll explain the first step, and then we'll do it together. And then after he's into that second step, I'm going to catch up and I'm going to show you guys the mistakes that you've probably already made, because deer hair is the stepchild of the fly fishing industry. And then I'm going to show you how to recover that, and then we're going to go right back to Jeff. So if anybody messes up, and you have no shame, because we're all going to do it, I still do it all the time, and just raise your hand and show me what the issue is, because it might be a good example. It might be something I've not seen yet, which has happened in one of my classes, that we could troubleshoot real quick and figure it out as a group.
Okay.
But once you got it whip finished, you're good to go.
And you'll be able to walk around and help them.
Yeah, I'll be floating. If you need help, throw it in the air.
Everybody's tied in now? Okay? All right, this is the fun part. A lot of times when I'm teaching, yeah, go ahead.
Here
You
I go.
have- okay. A lot of times, I think I was over here talking to a few people, so it sound redundant, but not all of y'all heard this. I teach people about, your commitment to doing deer hair, and you're choosing the deer hair. It's challenging. Deer hair in general is not challenging, but when we get into building bodies and doing bass bugs, it does get challenging right there. And so your concentration, your dedication to what you're doing has to be on a little bit higher level. All right, you have to know what you're getting into, right? That way, you know what you're getting into. You're not going to get frustrated and be, have a tendency to say, this isn't for me, and stop. It's hard for most people when you're starting out. It's challenging. The deal is to apply yourself to the best of your ability, right? And then when we use a little bit of repetition in your off time when you're tying and stuff, every time you tie, it gets better and better and better. So like I said, it takes a little bit of dedication, and you may not be fully satisfied with what you do at first, but if you spend enough time, the end result, like I said, for every one of you builds confidence and satisfaction when you're done, which is important in my opinion.
Hold on 1 second. Hey guys, on your right bobbins, I want your bobbin to be a little stiff. You don't want it really loose. So tighten it up, the little cross. Give it a couple cranks. If you can pull it like that and it doesn't just fall, that's what you want. Because we're gonna be putting a lot of pressure on this, and Jeff will go into palming your bobbin, but you don't want it really loose. Go ahead.
Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to spin a color down on the belly, and it's going to be a half spin, and then we're going to do what's called stacking on top of it. You guys, some of you that are more advanced, go ahead and follow along and put spots on it. If you don't feel comfortable with that, we don't have to go into the spots. You can just do a solid color on the top, all right? And you don't have to put in the spots. If you feel comfortable with doing something a little bit more advanced here and follow me doing the spots, that's cool. Some people, like I said, that it may result in it being slightly frustrating. So if you get into it and you're like, oh, okay, back off, everyone's going to be able to at least put a single stack on the top, or maybe even 2 stacks, and not worry about doing the spots, because that is bare minimum a high level of intermediate tying. I think that mostly when you get into the spots and stuff, you're talking about getting into advanced tying, and I don't know that everyone in here is on a level that's considered advanced. I would say that the majority of people are from beginner to intermediate in here, and there's a few guys that I would say definitely are advanced in here. Do what you feel comfortable with, but I'm going to go through the steps the best I can, and I'll go as slow as I can to kind of show you how I do this right here, and that's what the end result is. I'm going to finish tying a fly that's like this, but like I said, you don't have to put the spots in, okay? And we're going to get going on this. I'm going to spin, and it doesn't matter on the colors really. I'm going to spin white down to the belly, and that's usually what I do on most flies. Divers, what do you guys think a diver is? Well, I mean, what do you think the fish think a diver is? Food. That's the best answer I've ever heard.
Something's sinking.
What's that?
Something's sinking that they can eat.
So I think that in most cases, a diver represents probably 75% of the time represents a frog. And when we're talking about fishing for bass and stuff, but a diver, bass are pretty opportunistic, and I think that a diver also kind of, when you're talking about that other 25%, it could be a bird that fell in the water and a bass is going to hit it. It could represent a injured bait fish that goes up and hits the top of the water. So it can represent a lot of things. I think most of the time, divers and poppers in general represent frogs, which is probably in temperate, warmer water where you fish for largemouth bass. That's probably one of their the main diet of throughout the spring and summertime is frogs. So I usually go with a white to a creamish color on the bottom, because really the top and the spots, now when you're stripping it, they do see that just for a flash. They see the whole fly because a diver dives down and then floats back up. But for the most part, the profile of the fly that they're seeing is from the bottom, so that the belly, like I said, usually white. You can change it up, so for different things. I don't always do white, but in general, I'll do a lighter color and then stack darker colors on the top. So if you have white, yellow's a great belly color too. Orange is great. Really anything.
Black.
Black is great too. Some people use that. Sometimes when you're fishing for largemouth, I don't use purple. I don't think it matters really. Honestly, I mean, black. Largemouth bass, when you head into springtime and they start getting more aggressive and stuff, they'll they'll eat just about anything, you know, that can fit into their mouths, right? So profile might be more important after color. My stacks are, I said everyone's heard I would say, oh, a pencil width of hair. We're going to go a little bit bigger than that. So you have to kind of roughly estimate what you want to use. I would say that mine's going to be more like the size of a medium-sized cigar size, you know. So if you're going with widths, it's at least 3 pencil widths of hair. And I probably go bigger than that, but I don't recommend you guys going that big because deer hair is kind of slippery. You kind of learn muscle memory when you're controlling the deer hair and holding it in your hands. And that's important because the tie-in point of your hair is very important because we're having to fold the deer hair back. And it's like if you're looking at a piece of marble and you're wanting to carve a statue out of it, right? The end result has to be inside the marble, right? And so if it wasn't, then you'd have half of a head, or you can't fit the arm into it. So we have to be able to fold things back and make a pretty big ball of hair to carve out what we want inside the hair. And so that's real important when I talk about the length of your hair and when we're folding the deer hair back, right? So basically I want to have as much length as I can. So that tie-in point's going to be pretty close to the middle of the hair. When you're holding hair and it kind of slips and stuff, and then you tie it in an angle, and you have a short end over here and long over here, you're going to end up having some problems. That probably happens to all of us. I don't think it necessarily ruins the fly, though. So, so keep that in mind that you have to kind of build up to use them bigger and bigger in stacks. And you want to increase your density, you have to start using bigger stacks. Don't go in on giant stacks at first though, because you will get frustrated. So let me cut off about the chunk that I think is a manageable amount of hair. You get pretty good at estimating this, and some people go and I think people have seen the Andreas Anderson videos. He goes and he stages out all of his cuts beforehand, and he puts them in a material holder, and that's not a bad idea because, as you can see here, I've got these spots and stuff. They all look pretty symmetrical and stuff. So that means that I have to pretty much use the same amount of hair every single time. And I'm doing it, there's 3 spots. So every little detail on each spot has to be done 3 different times, right? And if I start out with a big stack on one and then I don't do the relatively close to the same stack on another one, then I just have different shaped spots. Does that really matter? No, but I like to keep my stuff pretty symmetrical, if you will. So you get your deer hair off, and we want to take our brushes and we want to remove as much of the underfur as we can.
All right, for you guys that do not have a comb, here's what I want you to do. You're going to have your deer hair cut in your hand and try to line up those tips a little bit best you can by barely loosening up your grip. You don't want to get wild and loosen up a lot because you'll lose it, and just palm it down to where they're the same length. And then I want you to just do this.
Yeah.
And you'll see that fluff coming out, and you'll pull out those short ends. This is what I do when I forget my comb, and I forget stuff all the time.
That's called a palm stack too. When you want to get your even tips, everything even, they get uneven. Then we do what's called a palm stack. You have to practice it because you have to loosen your grip a little bit on the hair, and then you stack back with your palm against the hair, and then as you can see it, straighten it out, right? And if you have a stacker, well, you could just use a stacker. It'll work a little bit better. But usually we're trying to be efficient and stuff. Sometimes going into the stacker and back out of the stacker uses extra time. And so sometimes just doing what's called a palm stack, and that's something that you just have to, with repetition, practice, and then you get really good at that. Do the best that you can. You guys can see about how big of a stack I've done here. And like I said, I think that's probably about 3 pencil widths of hair right there. You see right there. This is probably a good manageable amount. Running through the base end, running your brush through as much as you can to get that underfur out. And then I like to do like this. If you guys will watch real close, this is another key to get more underfur out, is to take and kind of roll the hair just a little bit in your fingers. And it takes a little roll, and then run your brush through it again, and you'll get out a little bit more of the underfur.
Dude, once we get our big balls.
So yeah, learning how to hold your hair and manage your hair is really important with deer hair. Deer hair can be kind of slick, and so just with a little bit of repetition, you kind of learn how hard you need to hold the deer hair to hold it in place. You start getting into deer hair is kind of slippery, so the bigger stacks that you get into, it gets a little bit harder to manage your hair. And y'all all have your bobbins in and your thread tied in. I didn't, but I do now.
And the cleaning lady hates.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
All right, everybody got their deer hair pretty much cleaned out, you think? Okay, let's go. Let's learn how to do our first step, which is called, and I like to do what's a half spin. I like to spin my belly. So, but you could turn it upside down and basically stack it in on the belly. The full spin, which we're not doing right now, and at some point if you stick with deer hair, you'll start doing full spins. A full spin takes a lot of practice too, right? But that distributes the hair all the way around the hook shank, and the better you get it where you distribute the one stack symmetrically all the way around the shank. We're not doing that right here. We're wanting to just spin everything to the base. And you guys watch real close. I'm going to use my thumb. It's one of your most important little tools when you're using deer hair. But I start with it, and I look at about the halfway point of the hair. I'm going to kind of pinch the hair. And then I'm going to tie my thread right here next to where I'm holding it on my fingers, because that basically that kind of it gives an invisible line as to where I need to tie this deer hair in. All right, which is about the halfway point. And that's, like I said, that's real important. And then what I'm going to do is holding it up on the top right here. We're going to do 1 and then 2 loose wraps, and you start cinching down just a little bit, but we're not cinching down hard. And on the 3rd wrap, all right, I'm gonna let go with my fingers and start rolling it around. And as soon as I can, I'm gonna get my thumb underneath it and then help spin it around to the base. And then you'll see the shank open back up like this on the top, and you'll see your thread base again, and you know you've done it right. Now it is gonna get trapped a little bit around your barb right here on the first. Don't worry about that, we'll fix it. After you get it cinched down at that point, we're going to do another wrap around at the same point. Watch your hook point at the bottom too. So when you come around the bottom, you have to kind of angle your thread out just a little bit. At this point, you can take something sharp or your bodkin and kind of pick out that hair that's got trapped around the bend of your hook the best you can. And then we're going to end up with something that looks like this. The hair is all the way on the bottom, and the top is opened up. When we build on the top, it's real important when you build on the top that you have a good, like I said, a good foundation, right? A good platform at the bottom to stack on top of for the top of the fly. So you want to make sure that you use enough hair. If it's too loose, then everything on the top will kind of crush down over the top and onto the bottom. Okay. You got it. And guys, if you're having a problem, just raise your hand, and Joe can come over there. Just raise your hand. Joe, come up. And Joe, you got someone who needs some help over here.
Some of this hair is really short.
Don't worry. There's you do a diabetes test on you? Blood sugar test? Yeah, the worst is when you go back in and you ram your thumb in on the hook point. I tell you one thing that you can do, and I used to do it a lot until I really built up good control, is put you a small piece of cork on your hook tip. Next step. I lost Joe.
You're good.
No, there he is. There he is. He's short, so I couldn't see him. All right, guys. Now I'm gonna go with the top color, which could be the only color that you use on the top. I'm gonna go with green here. You can use whatever you want. I don't think it's really that important right now since we're just learning. Having just different colors might be good for now, so you see that separation of color and see how to spin a different color and how people get that different belly color on the belly of their fly and then stack on top of it. So, I'm gonna go green, and then I'm gonna go usually you see like I do like a black ring around the spot and stuff. Then I'll go into a black ring and then I'll do some little fancy this and that color. If you're not comfortable with doing that, then we just go with just one more color on the top. You may have to do 2 stacks of the color to get the amount of hair that you need on the top of the fly. So use bare minimum as much hair as you used on the belly, but we're going to be putting more hair on the top. Okay? So kind of figure out that roughly about the same amount that you used before. Maybe bite off a little bit more too. Different color. You don't have to. I mean, there's some. I tie a lot of flies where I just go with just one color. In that case, though, you could do a full spin if you're just going with one color. Now we're creating the skirt on this fly at the same time right here on the back of the fly. All right, the skirt of hair. So that you have to remember that too. Whereas once we get up to the further spots, we'll be trimming that stuff off. But on the back, it's important that you have your tips. Some people like their tips stacked. I don't. I like it to have kind of a, as you can see right here, kind of an organic look, like it came off straight off the back of a deer. So I don't like to stack the tips, what some people do, and you do whatever you feel comfortable with. I think it look. I don't know. I don't like the look of it. So get the underfur out the best you can. Remember I told you that underfur waterlogs your flies, and then it prevents your hair from flaring out. And we want to get as much flare as we can. So it's almost impossible to get all the underfur out of your deer hair. We just want to do as good as we can. So you don't have to sit there and try to get every bit of it out. I think if you just do a pretty good job and get most of it out, you're in pretty good shape. Okay. What's that, Joe?
I'm going through here and getting rid of the crap here.
Okay, we got all the hair brushed out. Let's do our first stack on top of this section. Again, I'm going to try to grab it as close as I can to the middle of this bunch of hair, and I'm going to kind of hold it with pinching it. So I'm going to hold it, and in this little area right here, I'm going to kind of slide that onto the shank just a little bit. All right, so it kind of holds it into place. Then you're going to come up through the hair on the bottom. Don't worry about trapping a little bit of hair. It's no big deal. Work through the hair, and then we're going to do 1, 2 wraps, and that pretty much holds it in place like that right there. Now, if you're not doing any spots, then you could just go ahead and just cinch it down and flare it out. But I'm going to do a spot, so I'm going to use my thumb tool again, my thumb, and I'm going to put it straight on the top right here. And you guys watch this. We're trying to make a crater so I can build my spot into. And while I'm pushing down with my thumb on the top of the shank, I'm going to flare down, pull down, and it's going to leave that divot right there on the top, and that's what I'll build my spot into. And you really get your thumb in there and press it down. You're satisfied. You got a nice divot where we know that we can build our spots into on the top, or a funnel. Then go ahead and do one more wrap around right in the center. Try to keep your wraps in about the same place. And then cinch down again with your thumb in the middle. And like I said, we end up with this cup or this kind of this crater right there that we build inside of. Does everybody have some black hair?
They're sporadic all over all the
All right.
temples.
You know, I have a little bit up here too. You don't have to use black, but if you're gonna do the spots like I'm going to, you don't even have to do an outline. You could just make your different colored spots. I like to do an outline with black. You don't have to do that, but I'm gonna step by step show you how I tie a fly like this right here. For probably most of you, just to do something like that right there is a little bit more than what you want to spend time on doing right now. So you don't have to get quite as in depth as I am right here. But if you want to attempt it, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do like a little black outline, and then I'm going to fill the spot, if you will. So I'm gonna go to a black color. If you have black, or if you have another dark color, you could use that. You don't have to use black. For this part, I'm going to use a little bit smaller amount of hair for this line, or for this black outline. I would say that I'm going to use a little bit more than a pencil width of hair, but less than what we used before. And I'll get this cut off, and y'all can kind of see about how much hair I'm using. And I mean, that's pretty close to like a pencil width of hair right there. Got some hairs kind of sticking out there. I'll palm stack them back straight. Pick up my drop. And then brush out this underfur. I'll get kind of redundant on some of the stuff that I say, but. Some hair, you'll find out some hair has way more underfur than other hair. I think it's like the seasons when they harvest the deer, whether or not they have less underfur or more. So some stuff's pretty clean when you get it, and then some stuff just requires a lot more work to get the underfur out. Okay. You guys got it clean, and then we want to come in on the top again, and you're gonna, the same thing, you're gonna hold your hair basically in the same spot as where you did your top color. Bring your thread up, trying to keep it right at your tie-in point at relatively the same point. And you can see where there's a point where it pulls all the hair. It kind of makes like a little spot right in the middle. That's your tie-in point right there. Always remember to spin your bobbin back a few turns and make sure that your thread stays open. Because when GSP gets corded up, it turns into a razor blade, and if you cinch down too hard, it'll just cut your deer hair. If we keep our thread nice and flat or open, you can put a lot of pressure on deer hair with GSP, which is what we need. We want to sink it down as close to the shank as we can get it, without, like I said, without cutting your hair. And that's another thing where you have to kind of learn what type of strength and pressure and tolerances that you're going to use with deer hair. Sometimes you're just going to have to, at some point, cut through your hair and understand that's too much, right? And that's not a bad thing, because like I said, those are things where you're learning the tolerances and how much pressure you're going to use. So we're going to take this next step, and like I said, kind of hold it in the middle, stack it up, bring the thread up, 1, 2, thumb on the top, and pull down, and flare. And I'm really pushing down pretty hard with my thumb. My thumb's also, I'm looking at it, it's like that's right on the top of the shank, or on that mono foundation. And really spread it out with your thumb, And you're gonna end up with a spot like that, and an opening for you to fill the hair into. Okay? Now, I'm gonna get kind of fancy here, and you guys don't have to do this. You could just kind of skip this part right here. I'm gonna put in a little tiny accent color of orange. But you guys could stop right here and wait till if you don't want to get that fancy, wait till the next step, which will be filling in this hole with the spot. And we're not going to use our thumb there, but I'm going to do a real quick. I'm going to just do a little accent color and get kind of fancy. If you feel comfortable with doing this, go ahead. And I think the orange, little ring of orange and red kind of looks cool. Those are two complementary colors there. And this is a much smaller stack of hair, less than a pencil width, because I just want a little flash accent. Drive the people wild on social media, right? The bachelor don't care about this stuff right here, but. Yeah, same way. If you're going to do this step, then go ahead and put it on there. Grab it in the middle, put it down. 2 wraps, kind of, I'd say loose wraps, but yet firm. It's enough to hold your deer hair in place. Thumb on top and flare.
You guys, don't be afraid. Pinch that hair and really pull that bobbin down. When you let go of your bobbin and your hair starts to push out the center or roll over to the side, just grab that clump of hair you just put on there, no matter where you're at, and level back up straight and flare it down.
Yep.
You want that thread to be close to the heart of the hook as possible.
Always make sure that your thread is open, because like I said, if it gets corded up, then you'll cut through your hair. So let's make sure that we learn proper thread control, and that goes a long way for you guys in tying any type of fly that you want. Is learning your thread control. When you start messing around with different deniers too and thinner thread, it's really important, you know. And I'm sure a lot of y'all have experience tying something, and your thread keeps on breaking. But it just takes a long time to learn thread control. But this is a good way for you guys to do that and learn it. And now we're going to fill the spot in. I got my little accent. I'm going to fill it in with red. And this step is a lot the same, but it's slightly different. So my spots are pretty big. And I really want to fill up the space. I'm trying to do a pretty dense fly here. So with my spot, I'm going to do probably about as much hair as I used on the green or what the main part, that first stack we put on the top, which is a pretty big stack. I'd say three pencil widths or a medium-sized cigar, something like that. And so I'm using a pretty big stack there. You guys see that? Yep. You don't feel comfortable with that big of a stack, back off just a little bit. You use whatever you're comfortable with. It's just fine. Because like I said, learning to build up this type of density is not going to happen overnight. It's going to come with a lot of dedication and repetition. So, I mean, there could be a phenom out here that can just do it instantly. I've seen it. I've seen some real talented guys that they're just gifted from gifts from God, right? I guess, I don't know. That's looking good. It's looking good. Get it brushed out. You'll get tired of me saying that. Get that under fur brushed out. You're doing bulkheads and stuff where, you know, the deer hair is underwater all the time. It doesn't matter about the under fur, really. I don't think it does. Maybe a little bit. But, it's already a fly that you're going to get waterlogged because it's like a muddler or something like that. but something that we want to stay on the top and stuff. We want it to float as long as it can. Okay.
Now, did you discuss belly hair versus body hair?
Yeah. And we'll go over it again. And I'll do it since you said it. Belly hair is what everybody has there for the most part. We can, and that's what we use mostly for bass bugs. I do use some body, but if you end up getting into the body, and sometimes there's like body hair, there's a bigger range of colors. To me, that's kind of important because when I'm doing my fancy flies. But when you do get into using body hair, it's important that you kind of grade that hair and look at it, because some body hair flares like belly hair, and some just lays flat, kind of like stimulator hair and something like that. And that's not really what you want to use. Belly hair is always, for the most part, what we're looking for to use here. Okay. Now we're gonna do this top spot. Okay. Same thing. Do it just like you're doing your stacks. Get it lined up. 2 firm wraps. Okay. And you'll watch real close here what I do on this. Now I'm gonna feel the spot. I'm not gonna put my thumb down it. I'm actually gonna grab it from the sides right here. All right. I'm gonna hold it from the sides, and then I'm just gonna pop my hair down. Not too hard, or you'll cut the hair. So you want to make sure your thread is flat. I'm gonna kind of pop it down. Okay. And see, I didn't put my thumb on the top, so it filled that void or that little crater that I have with the hair. And it's not very pretty right now, but that's basically what it kind of looks like. You can go back and see, everyone kind of, even like I trapped some hairs here, you can use your brush to kind of brush it out just a little bit. And okay, so let's look at the next step that we do. Everyone's filled the hole. From what I can tell, it looks like everyone's doing a pretty good job. Is everybody caught up? Raise your hand if you're not. Okay, you are doing good. So this is the first section. Now let's look at the next part that we have to do to prepare for the next section that I'm going to put in. Some people you'll see on videos, to get their thread in front of the stack to start building the next, you'll see people just tie through the deer hair, right, and move forward. I personally don't like doing that, but they're some of the best tyers in the world. That's what they do. So I'm not going to say it's a wrong technique, okay? And if you see a nice video that you like and you can understand it, and that's the way you do it, and you did it and you're successful, then let that be your method. That's fine. I said I'm not saying it's a wrong method. But what I like to do from this point, my thread is hanging in the middle of this stack. All right? You can see that right there. I need to get it into the front of the stack. All right? So I want to take my fingers and kind of push this hair back just a little bit, kind of move it back. While I'm holding it back with one hand, I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to come over at an angle with one sweep at an angle, and I'm going to get and you don't worry if you trap some hair. You can kind of wiggle it if it grabs a hair and it'll get through, and get your bobbin in front of it like this right here, and then just hang it down in the front. And at this point, this is where I use my packer. You have a fugly packer. You don't even have to use a packer. You could use your fingers, but you're going to want to get a packer if you want to get up to doing advanced deer hair. I'm using this Stone Post small packer right here. I like it. There's certain times when I need to use a bigger stacker like the fugly. In this case, this is fine. And then what I'm going to do is get this packer and kind of push back right here and pack back. And with this packer, you guys can see this. It's beveled around the edge. It's smooth around the edge right here. So what's cool with this packer is while I'm holding it back, and it's as far back as I can go, and I'm holding it right here, I can take my thread and kind of pull my thread this direction, not hard, but enough to where it slides around that bevel, and then it slides it right down to the hook shank in front of the hair stack. Do y'all understand that? And so this tool is pretty cool. So like I said, it's smooth and beveled around the edge. And then I can take the thread and I can pull up against it, and it just slides around that stacker. And it puts it right into the right place. still keeping the packer held, and then I'm gonna grab onto it, and then I'm gonna cinch down, and it bites into that mono foundation. And then basically you see here, that section is it's staying back there, it's not really coming forward. I'm gonna come through now, and I'm gonna do a couple more wraps, and then I'm gonna get about 2 millimeters out in front of the stack, and that's where we're gonna repeat the process, and you're gonna repeat the process 3 more times. And I guess Joe, you want me to walk them through the next spot too, the next section?
Yeah, dude, you just keep rolling.
Okay.
I can do all my part at the very end. I'm just trying to make sure they have decent hair.
Okay, so whatever you guys did, if y'all did something more simple or you did it intricate like I did, we need to do the same thing again. And you're going to try to use the same amount of hair that you use. Sometimes that comes with time too, your proportions. And I gave you a little hint. You can watch the AREX videos, which are free, guys. The AREX videos are free. I'm an AREX Pro too. I think so is Joe. Those videos with Andreas Anderson are gold. And like I said, you can see what he does. He'll go and trim his hair beforehand, and he'll put it in the material holder, and then he can look at the deer hair stacks and he can see that everything's pretty symmetrical. And then you're going to end up having a more symmetrical fly when you're done. I don't do that because I've done it so much that I can pretty much I've got my proportions down. That's something that you just gotta have to get better and better. Also remembering it's never perfect, right? Let's just get close. It's good enough for the fish, right? Okay, so I want to. Everything can slide back and pack back against this, so I don't have to, start stacking my hair and spinning my hair right next to the other stack. I can go ahead and kind of at an angle, like I said, do about 2 wraps and get up about 2 or 3 millimeters away from that next stack. It makes it a lot easier for when you do your next section. All right. At some point, you kind of run out of real estate on your shank, and you can't do this. Take advantage while you can, making it easier for you. So your middle stack could be a lot easier putting it in without having hair kind of binding in and getting in your way and trapping hair. So I'm going with my white again. And we're going to do that half spin to the belly again. So get you your bottom color, whether it's yellow or whatever color you're using, and get your 3 or so pencil widths of hair, and let's get it cleaned out. I do, but you don't have to. But yeah, I usually do. If I do the first section one way, for the most part, 98% of the time, I do the next 3 spots all the same.
In the same order.
But that, like, figuring out your colors and using your color combination, that's all on you. And that brings out your own style and creativity. So what I'm doing like right there, that's, like I said, that's not 100% the right way for you to do it. It's one of the right ways to do it.
Now, when you did this next, the butt end goes towards the hook section?
So I'm usually, and this is just me, but yeah, the butt ends go towards the eye almost every time, and the tips always go back towards the back. After you do that's important. Like I said, for the skirt, you have to do that on the first spot. After the first spot, you can do it either way you wanted to. I just like to get into like a muscle memory repetition, so I'm always doing it that way.
So you tie these in the same way.
Huh?
Tie them in the same way.
Yeah, I always have the cut ends
Same
going
way,
towards the eye.
Start with your belly and work up.
Yeah, and the tips always going back towards the back there. There's some people that once they get past the skirt that they cut the tips off, and I don't do that. But like I said, there's a lot of really good videos out there, you guys, and AREX has wonderful ones. Fly Fish Food has great videos for free. There's a lot of other ones. Man, geek out on that free that free stuff that's out there. It's great. And if you find a little technique that works better for you, use it.
Hey guys, and gals, hey, I don't know if we said this, but like, this class that we're teaching, this is a master level class. Most of our, like, we've had Bob Clauser in one of our classes. Do not get discouraged. Like, when the stuff we're teaching you, the thread control, I know it's really frustrating when you're starting out, but like, if you do it a couple times before you get back to tying trout flies, your thread control and how you move your material is going to blow your mind. But don't get discouraged, because this is difficult. Most of the flies I've seen here tonight are 1,000 times better than my first 10 tries. Literally my first 10 tries looked like someone put some Zappy Gap on a hook, stuffed a bunch of deer hair in their nose and sneezed on it.
And I'm telling you, I used to tie deer hair turds, man. I was a master at that. I mean, it takes a while to you know, like I said, learn your thread control and learn your proportions and your tolerances. And then also it's kind of, there's a part where you have to dedicate yourself, guys, and it's frustrating. And that's like it's something that you want to work through, a little bit of that frustration, and it's good for you. I mean, it's good for your, like I said, for your confidence and stuff. You know, conquering something, right? So let's look at it as a positive thing and not a negative thing. And I got to encourage you to do it, because I like I said, the majority of people trying something that's difficult, they'll say, "Oh, this isn't for me." I think you take your time and dedicate yourself. Sometimes getting your mind in the right place, concentrating, put on music that relaxes you, you know, things like that. Getting in somewhat of a zen type of a state before you tie or whatever. That really, I mean, it really helps. So, and then sometimes you'll feel frustrated or something. Maybe this isn't the time for me to tie right now, you know, because there's sometimes where, you know, I tie better than I do other days, right? We're all just human, so we're moving up to the next stack, and some of you have already started. That's great. Get that tied in. 1, 2 on the third wrap. Get your thumb underneath it and help spin it around to the belly, and you'll see that shank open back up. And you know that you got all the deer hair on the belly. I can still see the hard mono, or the foundation, basically right there. Even right here, this is a good time to go. And let me find my tool. Take your bodkin and kind of pick out the hair from the sides, because some stuff. This is the point where hair gets trapped a little bit. A couple more wraps to secure your hair in place. Always remembering to spin your bobbin a little bit after you're done. Spin it back a few spins or something and get your thread back flat. Now I'm going to go to the top stack, which I call it my primary color, on the top of the white, which in my case it was green, whatever color you're using. And again, this should probably be your biggest stack. Bigger than the belly. From here, it looks really good, right there. Okay. Yeah. I said it's for me, being married, it's the test of a good marriage. My wife looks at me. I've got her $800 Dyson vacuum cleaner, always cleaning up my messes and stuff, and I get dirty looks from my wife. It's the test of a good marriage for sure. If your wife lets you do this, you got it made.
What happens when you kind of run out of shank?
Yeah, that's called running out of real estate. And so on the next stack that I do, I'll kind of show you, because I'm going to be right there where you got to kind of cram things into an area. And it gets tough there. When you run out of real estate, is what I call it, then you have to be kind of patient, if you will. But I can show you through a few tricks on that. All this stuff, if you guys stick with it, all this stuff that I'm showing you, maybe a little bit frustrating right now. If you're able to tie 10 flies after this, you know, over the next week or something, it'll all start making sense. Everything comes together, all right? You just gotta have a little bit of dedication put in. I know you guys do, so.
Good wife to put up with mouth.
Yeah. You get deer hair everywhere. I get deer hair everywhere. On the toilet seat, in my mouth,
I'm blaming it on the dog.
in my shoes, everywhere. Deer hair gets everywhere. That's another thing my wife will remind me of. She was eating her dinner other night and she found a green deer hair piece in it.
No charge.
Yeah, free. It's protein.
Give me my feel so well in 6 months.
Okay, guys, I'm going in for, and some of you are just booking. You've already seen what you can do. I'm going in for my top stack again. You want to make sure that the stack behind it, that the hair doesn't fall into this, and you don't trap that hair into this one. So you can kind of pick it out and kind of move that hair back just a little bit. On the top, tying it in at about the middle point. 1, 2. Thumb down and flare and make that divot again. What's that? Yep, this one goes on top. We're going to do the same thing again now. We only want one color kind of spun to the belly, and then everything else will be stacks on top.
So we, just clear, do you still spin on the first one on the left? Right?
On the first one, yeah, get that light color on the belly. Do a half spin to the belly.
Color on top.
If you want to. If you want to stay basic, then just do one color on the top. If you don't have to do these spots like what I'm doing. Now I'll put that on. I got my thumb down, and it's important to end up with that divot on the top. And that's where, like, if I didn't put my thumb in there, it's just going to be like the filler on the red that I did. It's just going to fill that spot. And then once you do that, it's hard to find them. It's hard to find the middle of the hair again. So make sure that you have your thumb down in there like this, press pretty hard, and you end up with a divot or funnel-like shape there. Now I'm going to go with my black outline, which if you remember was a little bit smaller, right around a pencil width of deer hair. Did somebody say something? Somebody said something. I don't know if they said it to me.
Still want the second one. Yeah, you're still the second one, stacking them up.
Were any of you guys in the Panhandle or Oklahoma area at a military base there, Abilene or Cannon Air Force Base or anything like that? No? No? Yeah, Amarillo used to have an air base there, yeah. Yeah.
And one in Altus.
Altus, yeah, that's the one that you were in Altus?
No, my son was.
Okay, yeah, and so Amarillo's right in between Cannon Air Force Base and Clovis, New Mexico, and then Altus, and so we there's military planes going over all the time. As a matter of fact, they'll stop and fuel up in Amarillo a lot of the time.
They trained the 135 fuelers in Altus.
Yeah.
They were the pilots that were getting trained for those planes.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. And then the one, I can't remember the name of the one that's over in Abilene area. That's a big one too.
That was the KC-135 in Altus.
Okay.
That was all they did. My son was one of the instructors. I was able to. Then he became the dean of students. It's pretty cool. I was able to go on and refuel. You guys trained.
Did you ever go on a mission up there? What? Did you ever go on a mission?
No, my son was a pilot.
I got to know the pilot.
Okay. Oh, you're good. I'm gonna put in my black stripe here, guys, and keep on going up, or a black outline.
They sent me to Okinawa to the altitude chamber, and I could fly with the down one. It was great. 40,000
Trapping hairs. So sometimes.
B-52 up
keeping my thumb pressed down in the middle, all right, to keep on making that crater. And it looks something like that right there. Okay. Now I did a little fancy accent color of orange. I'm going to do that again.
Now, they ain't gonna give us.
You ain't gonna get to see this thing out.
Oh, next spring, once you start with the bass, you need to try it.
Yeah, I live for spring bass. I love it. It's awesome.
I live in Virginia now.
Yeah. We have hybrid stripers in one of our ponds, and they'll do their for me, I haven't figured it out how to catch them real well, but they do their spawn a little bit earlier than bass with spring spawn. But that's the time I can go and see. Well, it's a false spawn because they're mules, but they do spawn.
We have, stripers in our
Yeah, yeah.
Mountain Lake.
So that's the only time that I can really see them, you know, without having a fish finder, is they come in shallow on the dam and stuff, and they swirl around each other, and that's a good time for me to try to catch those hybrid stripers. And I have some friends that are really good at catching them. To me, it's pretty challenging to get the hybrid stripers on a fly.
Get into that next year, but you guys get a small boat instead of a pontoon.
Yeah.
My pontoon's 28 miles up the other side of the lake. I need to get down to the lower end. It's cheaper to buy it.
We were small.
Yeah, that's where they go.
Get kayak.
I got kayaks.
Well, they sure are fun. I love doing saltwater fishing, and that kind of tides me over sometimes when I can go down to the ranch and catch a hybrid striper. It just feels like catching a saltwater fish. They fight so hard. Yeah, the stripers, yeah, that's hardcore. Yeah. Keeping my thumb in the middle always, right? When I'm making these lines. Now I have a real nice crater right there, and I'm going to build my red spot into it.
I tried flying fishing on it one time down the river, but makes it a little tricky.
Yes, see if I got one. I might have to go to the.
I sold my life.
Okay, I'm brushing off that under fur, getting that under fur brushed out. Repetitious. And this red stuff I'm using has way more under fur than the other stuff.
Are you getting the nose?
No, I'm putting them out. I'm about to be.
Okay. Hey guys, real quick. Take some of your garbage hair wrappers, we'll call them, and I want you to cut a line halfway into it for when we get to the nose. And then Jeff will go. Do you use one of these? You use your hands, right? All right, I'll go over that then. Take your wrapper and just cut it halfway.
Yeah.
And then set it down. We'll use it in a minute.
Okay, now I'm gonna fill that spot where I'm not gonna use my thumb this time, right? I'm gonna pinch it on the sides. But I got me a pretty healthy stack. I like doing it at my spot, having, like I said, this is a stack that's real similar to the green one, or the first top stack, which, like I said, this one's about the same size, a pretty big one. Really want to fill that space. 1, 2, pinch on the sides, and I'll kind of show you I'll turn it and I'll pull this way. Pinch from the sides and pop it down, and it fills that hole, that space there. And then I'm gonna work again. I'm gonna, at an angle, I've got to get my thread from the middle of the stack up into the front again, okay? So I'll push it back, the hair, just a little bit with my fingers like this. Then pulling down with a little bit of force, I kind of wiggle it through the hair and get it up in front of the stack. And now, remember, we set this spot kind of in front of the other one. Now we're gonna pack it back all right? And it's gonna give you more real estate on the nose after you do this, okay? So, get my packer on it, and you'll see it, watch it guys, I'll watch it kind of slide back here. Y'all see that? And so now I've got enough space right here to put my last spot on. I like to go ahead and, like I said, I have this special packer right here, and these aren't that expensive either, guys. Stumpo has a lot of good stuff. I'm gonna pull my thread this way. I'm gonna slide it around that beveled edge right there, about 2 or 3 wraps, and I'm pushing back now, so it's setting that thread right next to, you know, if you don't use your packer, or even if you use a packer and you don't use this method, as soon as you take your packer off because you've got so much hair packed in there, your hair starts going this way a little bit, all right? And I want to kind of stop that. So I'm going to push this back, and while I'm holding pressure on it, like this right here, I'm going to tighten it down. It's going to bite it to that mono foundation. And then when I let go, if you watch this, it's not going to come forward at all. So, and then I might get a couple more wraps in to make it secure there. And then I'm going to take my thread and again move it up a little bit to give myself a little bit of space to tie in my last section. And you guys, as soon as you're done with filling the hole or done with this middle section, we'll move on to the last section. And Joe's over here, and if you're having a problem, just raise your hand. Don't feel bad about raising your hand, and Joe can come over and help you. Or I can too. I'm at a stopping point right now. Sure. I'm gonna start on the last section, and it's the not to sound repetitious, I'm actually trying to sound repetitious, but we're doing the same thing again. So get you a nice bunch of white hair to spin around to the belly. And that's right. Like I said, with the more practice and stuff, you'll start figuring out the proportions and what the amount of hair that you need to use to end result fit every, you know, all the pieces in the puzzle, if you will, there. Brushing that underfur out. Roll the hair just a little bit, and you'll get a little bit more hair out. Then you can palm stack it back into shape. Pinch it like that, and then a palm stack it. It's pretty even. Okay, I'm going to move on to this section right here. I'm going to spin the hair onto the belly. I kind of use my hand and my thumbs right here, kind of pushing the hair back a little bit right here because I don't want to trap very much hair. 1, 2, get down to the shape, in place, it's held on the top there, and the third one, spin it around to the belly. Then hold your thumb on the top to hold it in place and cinch down. Then, I think it's better at this point to kind of run a little bodkin through it and kind of pick hairs out if you think they got trapped on the spin, just a little bit down the sides, in between the 2 stacks. And then go ahead and wrap through another wrap around or 2 and cinch down, and your belly should be in. But you look right here, you're asking about that on the eye. You see how much I have hanging out over the eye right there? That's what you want. Gotta be trimmed. And when I pack this back, like I said, I may have a little bit of space left on the front. I'll go and fill that with deer hair, and that part gets pretty hard. And if that happens, and I get there and I need to do it, then we'll watch how I do it. I'm trying to get the even amounts to where I'm doing 3 stacks, and that's filling up the whole shank right there. But it doesn't always happen that way. So. All right, and I've got that rolled around, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with my stacking on the top. So I've got my green, and I'm getting out a healthy amount of this green for my first top stack on the last section.
Are you on your third stack or fourth?
I'm on the third, and I'm not gonna do four. I usually try to do third, but I may have to do, like I said, if I pack back and I notice there's a little bit of shank left, and you could call that the four stack, but I'll fill in that area with more hair. I want to fill in the hair all the way, you know, in every bit of the space that I can.
The hook eye's barely sticking out.
Yeah, and that's another part that you have to practice and get on. Yeah, repetition.
And right now, you will have quite a bit hanging over your eye.
Okay, good.
And you guys also, when you're gonna go practice this at home and stuff, you don't have to do spots. Just start practicing with two colors there for a while. Just spin a belly on, and then just go with one color on the top. Get comfortable with that, and then go in and start doing the spots and stuff like that. But learning how to do the spots right now, even though it might be kind of frustrating, like I said, everything will come together a lot easier whenever you do pursue that and start putting the spots on. It'll get easier too.
I can see where the housekeeper's gonna get a little upset.
Okay, I'm gonna put my green stack here and create my divot. 1, 2, thumb down and cinch. Keeping my thumb down nice and firm until I end up with that divot up in the front. Black. I'm going to do my black outline.
What do they call this?
Diver.
A mess.
A mess of a diver. It's definitely a mess. We're the crazy dudes, for sure.
You're at the eye, check it out. Are you at the eye? Who's at the eye?
I'm not at the eye yet, but
Okay, guys, hold off. If you're at the eye, don't try to whip finish it yet. I want to show you guys something. It's going to make it a lot easier for you.
and it will make it easier. I do not use the method that he's going to show you, but it's a good method to show you because the method that I use when I finish the fly can be downright frustrating. But I'm going to show you how to do it, and Joe will show you an easier way to do it. I'd say keep your Pringle caps on Pringle cans. They work probably even better for doing what Joe's going to show you. So it's always good to have a few Pringle, and you put a little small hole right in the middle that your eye, and then a slit all the way down the side of it. Cut a slit to the hole, and then you have well, you'll understand when he shows you what to do with that plastic.
Slides everything back so you can get to the eye. Slides everything back so you can get to the eye.
Yeah, and it's kind of frustrating. I use my hands to kind of move stuff out of the way, and I always wish I had an extra hand or a few extra fingers.
Dude, a lot of the time when I'm finishing the fly and I'm trying to get that thread around it, it's embarrassing. But I'll put the damn bobbin in my mouth. So I'll be sitting there with two hands packing it with the bobbin, pulling it as tight as I can. Because it gets frustrating sometimes when you got a 1/16 inch of a shank and you're like, you know what, I can get a whole stack on that. And it's miserable doing it. But when you're done, you're like, holy crap. That's what it takes, to sand. You could take 120 grit sandpaper on some of our bugs and just get it really smooth with the razor blade and just buff it out. Blow it out and it looks like cork. It feels like cork. And water ain't going to penetrate that. It'll fish all day.
Okay, I got my black outline right there. It's made a nice crater on there. I'm gonna put my little fancy accent color in there.
So that everybody can go home with a fly. I didn't know they didn't have packers. We'll take care of it.
What happens if we can't find the iron?
Just a little bit smaller stack.
Well, offhand, I would say,
All right.
offhand, I would say you're screwed.
I've got 2 more stacks on me.
All right. He turned his mic off for a second.
Good.
I'm not going to teach my portion. What I'm going to do is teach the Popovic bar method. So you can just take 2 colors and make stripes on a hook because they don't need a foundation because they're having a lot of trouble with this.
Okay.
And they don't have that. They don't have a packer.
I held it back and I just.
None of them have packers do.
Okay.
So I thought that would be a little easier too.
Well, let me finish this.
Oh, when you're done, you take your time. We can still, I only need 40 minutes to teach that.
That's fine.
Yeah,
We have plenty of
we
time.
have 2.5
We'll fill that time with doing that. Okay, guys. I know this is frustrating, but you guys are doing a good job. And like I said, if you don't end up with the results that you want, that's okay.
gonna find a bill.
That's okay because, like I said, if you stick with this, dedicate yourself. It'll all come together better. Sometimes it's good to get a little in depth. Now I'm going to put the little accent in and then fill it up, and then basically I'm just about done with my stacking. And Joe's going to show you another method on doing a fly after this that is a little bit easier too. We'll tie something else, and you guys, after doing this, it'll seem easy.
If it is anything, I'll see these.
Okay, it sits down pretty hard. I've got that divot almost. I cannot see the eye of my fly at all right here. I can feel it with my finger. Okay, I've got a nice crater there. Now I'm going to fill it up with my red. And we'll pack it back and we'll see. I may not have to add anything up on the nose, but like I said, if I end up with even a millimeter of the shank exposed, I'm going to put deer hair in that little shank. Matter of fact, I'll crank it back so I can kind of show you how I feel that spot. Because if you're going to try to do this, if you're going to try to do this dense like that, if you don't get the hair all the way up to the eye, you'll lose your density right up on the nose. I mean, it'll probably fish just fine, but.
Well, at the end, this is all the trim around the guy, to a degree.
Yes. So a pretty big healthy stack right here to fill the hole. Let's get this under fur out.
I want to try, I want to borrow this metal tool to push that back.
This one right here, walk up here and use it.
Take it on.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's what you just said about
yeah,
that.
but the hole's a little bigger.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a big hole and a small hole. Use the big one.
I couldn't even find my eye. It works for me. Really.
Now, I love that little packer. I love it. I've got my money's worth.
That still didn't get money back as far as the house.
Okay.
You see that end, how it's smooth and beveled like that.
See the end.
Any of you guys wanted to use this packer, come up here and grab it and use it for sure.
There, just hold up your hand, I'll walk it around real quick.
Yeah, yours is back further than mine.
Okay, guys, I'm going to fill in this spot now, and we'll see. We'll see if this is this finishes the fly, or if I have to add a little bit on the nose. I think it's going to. Oh, I've got a lot of hair on here. Pinch it from the sides, no thumb this time. Pop it up. Now I want to move it back just a little bit.
Who else needs the packer? Anybody?
and I angle my thread back up, and it just barely loops around the eye now because we've run out of real estate. Thank you. Now I'm gonna pack back a little bit. Let's see. I mean, I filled it up. I think I could pack it, like this will be a finished fly. I'm gonna pack back as hard as I can so that I can get some shank exposed, so I can show you how I finished that last little piece, which is very frustrating. But you'll see how I do it, and then at some point you'll probably want to do it. So it's good for you guys to at least see how I do it. Yeah, and I've got, like I said, can you guys see there? I got about 1 millimeter of that shank exposed. So, hey, 2 millimeters. So most people will be done right here, but I like I said, I just don't like to lose density on the nose of my flies. So when I'm packing that tight, so I am going to. Now I'm not even going to do. I'm not going to try to spin right now. It is real frustrating when you get up to the little point. So I'm going to. It's where it's nice to have a rotary vise. I'm going to turn it upside down and do one more little stack of white up on the nose. So if I get my proportions right and pack on enough hair, which is frustrating in itself too, but then I don't have this problem of having any exposed shank. It's just that everything fills it up. And I'll pack back as hard as I can, and there's no shank that's there. That's actually pretty good for me. It's just 1 millimeter, so you can't use a lot of hair right here. So I'm using like a pretty small little stack of hair. I extend that down just a little bit too. And we'll do what's called a pulley right here. It's really hard to get it down and try to stack it right up against it. So I'm gonna hold it. You gotta get out enough thread right here. I'm gonna hold this little stack up above the shank, all right? And you have to hold it pretty firmly. I'm gonna get one wrap around it, and it's called a pinch wrap. It goes into my fingers right here. It goes into my little fingers, and then around the other side, and I can feel the thread. And then you come and you loop your thread back around the eye of the hook, and you pulley it down into place. And then I can turn it upside down right here, and I've got it all on, and then I can do one more wrap. And I've got all the white on the bottom right there. Now I'm going to come in and do some green and do the same thing on the top. Okay, and I want you to just see how I do it. I want to tell you that this is pretty hard to do right here, but at least you know how I'm doing it, because as you guys practice this, you are going to get into an advanced level, and this is something that you'll be able to handle right here. Some of you may be able to handle it right now.
Well, you did it, made it look pretty easy.
Mark, you can handle it. Mark's got it.
I'm trimming marks for him in front of the class.
Okay.
It literally only takes 15 attempts to tie deer hair to be considered like really freaking advanced, because everybody usually gives up around flight 3. It does. I know.
So, Joe, do you want me to just finish this front part, or do you want to show the method on the nose, or do you want me to finish it the way I do the hard?
Show them how you do it, but I want them to do the way I do it for now.
Okay. So I'm going to do my last little stack, and I'm going to do it just like I did the belly. I have to kind of pulley it down into position right here. Pretty healthy stack here too for that. I slide, like I said, I'm doing a pinch wrap. I got this thread kind of pinched in between my fingers and the hair right there. Come down the other side, you feel the thread slide into your fingers. Now I'm going to go run my thread next to the eye, basically come through the belly of that white hair and up on the other side of the eye, and then pulley it down. And I can get another little wrap right around it. Now, and you don't want your thread to slip out over the eye, and some of you, that's going to happen to some of you. This takes some practice. I can see the very end of the eye of the hook. I'm going to press back, and I mean, even if I'm pressing back, it's hard to expose the eye right there. That's what I want. That's the way I do it. Pull down hard, and you just want to get that thread up around the hook of the eye there. Then I'm going to come in and press back again and pack it back and expose as much of this eye as I can. I'd say even right here, if you can't see what I'm doing, you're welcome to walk up here and look. Could you grab that?
Where's it
wood
at?
finisher?
Near.
I'm going to have to pick
There
up
you
a
go.
little bit of hair right here. Okay. Now, what I do, and most people, Andreas Anderson, some of the, like I said, some of the best guys that tie deer hair, they'll do a hand whip finish at this point. I like to use my whip finisher, and I use a no, not an Allen wrench. I use this midge one. All right. You're like, why does he use that on the big one? But what happens is, I was showing you guys, I can't remember the whip finish over there. It makes the triangle. When you use a smaller one, it keeps that triangle smaller than the deer hair, so I have a less of a chance of trapping hair. But this part is another very difficult part, and I'm going to use my hands to pull that hair back the best I can. Now then, I want to instead of counter spin the hair, I want to spin clockwise and cord right at the end. I want to cord this thread up. Now I don't want it flat because it can be hard to whip finish when it's flat. Make my little triangle right here, and then you see how how I kind of use my fingers here to pull back the hair, but I also have this. I also have the bobbin dangling off of my finger. So this part is pretty challenging. I wish I had an extra hand at this point. I'm going to guide it up to the eye right there while I'm pulling as much hair out of the way as I can. And this part is really hard. And I'll do more than one whip finish. As long as you can just get a 1 turn or 2 turn whippy on this, that's good enough. Okay, now I got one little whip finish in there. It was just a 2 turn one. I'll cinch down and get it tight. But now I can pull my thread back this way, and the next whip finish is easier to put on there. I'll go ahead and pack back again. All right. And now it's much easier to do one more whip finish on this. And like I said, if you're good at doing hand whip finishes, that's probably maybe the way to go right here. 1, 2, 3, turn whip finish.
What's that? I think those are half hitches. Yeah.
In half hitches, if you do a half hitch, then you make sure that you have to do 2 half hitches. 1 half hitch won't do it. Unless you add glue, but 2 half hitches, another half hitch on top of a half hitch locks it into place. Okay, so and most people, there's a lot of people that think a half hitch is a hand whip finish, right? So right.
Has to be 3 half hitches to be a whip finish.
So now basically I've got 2 whip finishes on, and I can take off my thread now. At this point, I'm done with all my stacking, but here's an important step right here. Turn it around to the belly, and we want to take our bodkin and start picking out trapped hair. You shouldn't have too much trapped hair on the top where you did your stacks, all right? But you probably have trapped hair on the sides, and definitely 100% you're going to have some trapped hair on the belly. You run your bodkin through kind of slow, and as you pull your bodkin up, you'll see the hairs wrapped around your bodkin, and those are the trapped hairs that get out as many as you can. When you start trimming, if you don't do this, you'll see these lines in the hair, and that's usually a trapped hair. And even after I do this a number of times, I still might have a few of those. It's a lot easier to get them out now than when you're trimming. And then do you have that steamer turned on?
Oh, hold on. It's my favorite part. Besides trimming.
So yeah, this part is we're going to show you that how steam helps. I put a lot of pressure on this deer hair, and you guys have too. In that process, let's talk about deer hair. You hear that deer hair is hollow, right? Everyone's heard that term. Well, it is. But if you look at deer hair real close, or look close at some of my macro photos, there's something in there, right? It's a membrane, and like it's kind of like styrofoam, like a thin styrofoam. And what happens is that membrane gets smashed. All right, when we're putting pressure on it, and your deer hair will be flat instead of round. Well, what's cool about deer hair is that when we put heat, whether it's from a flame or from steam, when we put steam on it, it rejuvenates that membrane. It puffs the membrane back out, and so it basically, like all of everything that's crushed, it turns it back to a perfect deer, a perfect hair. So the steam process, and if you guys watch real close right here, you're going to see what the steam does to the hair. It's really, this
Dude,
is
smash
really cool.
it, make it look terrible.
It already is pretty smashed, but okay. But I usually steam on the belly first. You see the hair puffing out, guys. So that's it, expanding that membrane that's in there. And Joe's looked at it so close. He says it's a honeycomb shape. The membrane. There's cells, membrane cells, and that holds trapped air right there.
If you look under at I'm a total nerd. If you have a microscope, I do, and you look at an individual hair under it, it actually has a scale. Each hair has scales. If you cut it in half, it's almost like a honeycomb. So when you hit it with that steam, it softens up that keratin, and heat expands, and it makes the air in there expand, and it's going to make even if you only have crappy deer hair to work with, it'll even rejuvenate that to where it makes it more manageable in your trim. Because crappy deer hair, no matter how good me or Jeff puts it on a hook, the trim is going to suck. It's not going to look good. It's still going to fish because it still has a little bit of air in it. But if you hit it with the steamer, it'll make it a lot easier. So if you only have crappy hair to work with, hit it with the steamer, let it dry and cool down, hit it again, and it'll make it a lot better.
I mean, even if the hair is bent in half like this, once you put that steam on it, that hair will go and stand right back up. And so the steam is amazing. If there was any type of negative space, right, from crushing it and stuff, the steam fills that negative space back. So that's one of the ways that I get this finish like what I have. If I didn't do the steam, it probably wouldn't be quite as solid as that. Got a question to ask Joe.
What's up?
Do you want me to go ahead and get into the razor, the trim on this?
Hold on. Let me show them that.
Okay. I'll kick
With-
back for a minute, guys, and then we'll start working on the trim.
Get me in there tight.
Yep, gotcha.
So Mark did a great job putting this on there, but he's had a class with one of the greatest in the world. If you get on Google and look for the greatest deer hair Tyers ever exist, me and Jeff are in the top 6, and myself and Mark have been fortunate enough to get private lessons from the guy that's always #1 on that list. And so Mark's done pretty good. All I had to do was put one more clump on it, but I did that on purpose. You had an 1/18 inch of a shank, man. You can fit more hair. But I did it on purpose. You don't have to get it that tight to be a good functioning bug. But I did it with purpose for this. I can't see the eye. I put too much hair on. And there's a couple things you need to worry about. And several of these I've done in live classes and on the internet, unfortunately. When you can't see your eye and you got a packer, leave it a little bit open until you can feel that eye. Because sometimes you're an idiot and you're just too strong, I guess. And you'll be pushing and pushing and be like, dude, I can't get it to move. It's because you're pushing the eye of the hook. And when you do have this much hair and you're trying to do this stuff, make sure you're holding the base of that hook while you're pushing. It's going to keep it in place and keep it from slipping mostly. So I'm going to open it up and just push a little bit until I find that hook eye. Sometimes you have to feel around for it. And sometimes there's a thing that happens that's called a bowstring. We had it happen earlier over here. I forget who it was. And that's when you got so much hair on your hook that you're pushing and you're pushing, and you get it to where you got the eye, and you're pulling up to get this wrap around the eye. Then all of a sudden, all of the hair you just put on there is over here attached to your thread because it was so tight. You did such a freaking good job that the hair, you didn't do it fast enough, and the hair pushed the stack you just put on off, and so it looks like a silencer on a bow. Don't get frustrated if that happens. You're doing it right if that happens. It happens about every 4 times to me still. So I'm going to have this open, and I'm going to find that eye. And the reason I love this packer over what Jeff uses is I can grip it. I can throw some forearm into it and pinch that, and I'm in control. That means I could pull all this back and then try to collect all that other hair. At this point, I'll go sideways. And then I'll push, and now I can grab that eye. And I could take a break and figure out what I'm doing. And at this point, I'm going to grab it. I have a death grip on it. And I'm going to take my thread up. I'm going to wiggle it straight up and just try to throw it over once. And these work real well. What we're going to do is, but I don't prefer them. I like plastic, harder plastic.
Pringles top.
Pringles lid. I usually use what is it? I eat like a freaking 4 tubs of it a week. Cottage cheese, man. Love me some cottage cheese. So I'll do exactly this. I'll take a bodkin. I'll heat it up with a lighter, punch a hole in it, and if you do that, it will go right over the eye. So we're going to take our thread, wiggle this through the thread, pull it up, and you want to make sure your bobbin's hanging and it's not sitting on the ground, because right now there's no tension on it and this hair can still push it off. However, if we're letting it hang, gravity will keep it from popping off as much. So I'm going to pull this up, and don't care how messy it gets, and I'm just going to try to comb it back. And push it back one more time. As you can see, I could probably put more hair on this. Mark. I'm going to wiggle it up. And I'm going to throw a bunch of wraps in there. I'm going to whip this a few times. Since I have a little bit of hair left or room on this shank, fake it till we make it, all I have to do is throw a few more wraps, do my whip. Damn it. Yeah, if I do 1, it's a half hitch. If I do 3, it's a whip finish. I'm going to do like 6, and then I'm going to throw a few more wraps, and then do it again. And then I'm going to pull it. Any hair that you accidentally trapped with this gnarly thread we're using, when you do that last tighten on the whip finish to bite it all in, it should cut all that hair off. Now we're good to go. And you can cut that off and do your steaming. This is a good point too. If you've got your dots crooked, this is a lurch jaw. Is this the jaw we were talking about?
Yeah.
Dude, I haven't used one of these since. This is what I started out on. We were talking. Oh, I love it. I just like Regal's better. Peak's like a Chevette. Regal's like a Cadillac with 4-wheel drive. And Stoneflow's like Stoneflow and Renzetti. They're Ferraris. You know.
Italian.
If you guys would have shown up on time, I would have shown you Bugatti last night.
Right. Ooh.
Ooh.
We saw it. We were there.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't see a Bugatti.
Huh?
All right. You want me to trim this, Mark?
Yeah.
I'll trim while Jeff does it.
You want me to get into the trim?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to trim with you.
So you guys,
We trim differently, so I might do it.
we can just use scissors right here if you guys want to. If you get into razor trimming, that I have a cut kit just in case.
It works.
But you have to keep that in mind when you're using razor blades, and especially when you're not when you're not experienced with doing it a lot. And they make razor blade holders too, which are
Yeah, go
great
ahead and
to
focus
use.
on
And I
that
didn't
right
bring
now.
mine
Oh,
with
you're
me.
good.
I had to kind of streamline since I was flying with my equipment. But they make razor blade holders. They're great to use for until you get really confident with using razor blades.
A couple things we don't want you to do is never ever does your razor blade sit on the edge of your desk under your vise. All right, we've had one show we had 2 legendary deer hair guys. I won't name them, but one of them had to go home.
I might have been one of them. I don't know. I wouldn't call myself a legend. He did. So.
Yeah, this dude's like one of the best in the world. But one of them went home. Another of them, I had it fixed. I was squeezing the blood out because it was gross, and I was going to stop the bleeding and wrap it so we could continue tying. But no offense if anyone's a nurse or married to a nurse, but a lot of us in the room know how to stop bleeding rapidly so you can continue the mission. This lady had a giant wrap on there. She didn't stop the bleeding. She didn't stop circulation. And she's like, I was like, dude, lick it, and we're going to dry it off, put some some of his septic powder on it, and then we're going to rub that off, throw some super glue on it, continue mission. She's like, that's not how you do it. You got to wrap. He ended up leaving because he was so embarrassed. His thumb was like this big with cotton, and I'm like, this lady's not a nurse. I don't know why she would do that. But don't put your razor blade right here. It happened to him.
I sent him who he's talking about. I sent him a cut kit so that he could continue tying. It shows, but yeah, this is a kit I put together so that you can fix that a razor cut and keep on tying right here.
Another thing we're gonna not do with the razor blade is if you're having to push hard, as in if you hold on, let me straighten this out real quick. If you're cutting your hair, and I've already used this as trim one, so it might actually be dull right now. If it's not doing that smoothly, get another one. They're 0.3 cents, and
It's just like your beard. When you feel that razor start grabbing your hair, right?
oh,
The same
sweet.
thing. Same thing on your deer hair.
Zoom
when it
in
starts
tight.
grabbing, it's gonna give a rough cut too, because it has a nick in. And it's amazing how quick deer hair wears it down. So.
All right. As you're trimming, this is part of the. I'm not going to do my normal part of the class because everything's advanced, but it's like the really advanced portion. So we're going to do something different. But this is one of the things I wanted to show you how to recover a fly, and Mark has so graciously bestowed this upon me, and he did it on purpose probably just so I could use this. But he caught some hair right there, and that's because it's one of 2 reasons. Where's me at?
There you go.
Trying to get that zoom. There you can see it right there. So that happened because he didn't stay on his thread base, or when you're flaring that hair, you've got hair going both ways. So when he pulled those butts back to stay on that same thread base, he might have pulled some from in front, and so he's going to get that little loop. That's a fatal flaw in your bug. We could fix it by just breaking the hairs, because once it gets wet, and dries, they're just going to stand out. If you leave them in an arch like that, they're going to constantly expand, and it's going to want to push itself out, and you're going to get a loop, and it's going to kill your bug. Now, this is not a bug that I could fix and then sell, unless I actually pull those. If I sorry, I'm an idiot.
Just
You hold
keep
still,
it in.
There we go. I have ADHD, but I'm medicated now. If we try to pull those hairs out, like I thought when I first started, I assumed I wanted to pull those hairs out so I could trim them and there wouldn't be that gap. What you're going to do is you're going to leave that void, and that thread that is around him that has captured it now has room to wiggle. And it's going to compromise your bug. Mission's over. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to try to stay in this frame. Tell me when I'm good.
Good.
More importantly, I'm going to try to be quiet so you can hear it. You're going to hear him pop. We're breaking those. We don't want them to come out straight. I used to just sit here one at a time and try to pick them out. And it looks better, but the function of the fly is to float, catch fish, and not freaking fall apart. If you pull those hairs out without breaking them, it's just going to compromise it. After you fish once, after a few casts or a couple fish, you're just going to cast, bring it in once, and you're just going to see hair floating all over the surface and not know what happened. So we're going to try to break them. Sometimes you can't even tell you fixed this, but it's going to probably look like, when we trim it, it's going to look like the green just bled into the white a little bit. Still a fishable bug. Damn it. You have pointed scissors? Yeah, let's.
But you know that these are expensive. Be very careful.
Oh, no, I don't want to use those. Hold on one second. I usually have like a giant gauge.
Can you use my Renomed tweezers?
Are they stout?
Yeah.
This is a big old lump, dude. This is great. No, it's not long enough.
Okay.
Thank you, though. These will work.
The only thing I have is this right here.
All right. This is one of the most common issues you're going to have. And we're just going to keep popping it out. Now, if you hit your thread while you're trying to save this bug, it can compromise it too. I can show you how to fix that. But I'm going to wait till we're the trim because I'm going to destroy this bug and then I'm going to fix it. For Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Now I'm going to go back and I found one. Now I'm just going to go between the stacks, each stack, and I'm just going to pick it out. Even though you guys already did it while you're tying, you want to find all of them. If you hear pop, you're saving your bug. Your dots are really nice, actually. You can't do this enough. But yeah, that looks pretty good. But now you can carry on. I got that little gem and I wanted to show it off.
This is always the fun part right here. I think that after you've done all this deer hair and it looks like a big old puffball, and you don't like, I don't know what it's gonna look like. But this is like the reveal when you trim your fly, and you start seeing these little patterns, expose themselves. This is the fun part. I like to, on mine, and like I said, you guys can use your scissors. You don't have to use a razor blade. If it was good enough for Dave Whitlock, it's good enough for you just using scissors. So keep that in mind right now. You don't have to use a razor blade. I'm going to use a razor blade right now. What I like to do is I like to come up and just go even on the face. Symmetry is, well, I guess, when you're looking at my fly like this right here, it's important to have symmetry. So I'll kind of go through how I trim to keep it symmetrical. I like to go and kind of do a flat face and kind of trim it up. Can y'all see good? Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's why
Top,
I wanted you to tie a big one.
And then bottom. Okay. And then I can see the eye just a little bit. I'm going to come across on the sides.
You're
Get
trimming
kind of
bites, that
a
way
flat
if someone takes
face.
a picture, I don't get in trouble.
Okay, guys, like I said, if you're going to use razor blades, I have a streamline, so it's like I'm telling you to do it and I'm not even doing it. It's like Lid Rig is a great company to get mag pads from. They're not expensive, and it's a great way to manage your razor blades. It's a magnetic pad, flexible pad. You can lay it down, or it even stick to your desk. Always put your razor blades back on a magnet pad. Flat on a magnet pad, none of the razor blade hanging over the edge or anything like that. And it's going to save you guys from getting cut. Now I've got it nice and flat on the front. You can see there. Okay. Now,
What is that?
what I like to
Do you want
do
to trim this or you want me to do it?
is I like to kind of, you know what,
I wanna use it
I
as
can
an
see the
example,
eye
'cause I
right there.
trim
I'll
differently
trim it
than
back
him.
just a little bit
This is
around the
really
eye
what
because
I'm
we
talking
will
about.
have to clean this up at some point.
Really
We
good
want to be able
I'm
to
really
tie
glad
the
you made
fly
that
on.
mistake, though, 'cause that's one of the
So I'll trim back and expose the eye just a little bit.
I made it look like you did on purpose.
If you did everything right,
You have a feel I wanted.
you got your whip finishing good, it's really hard to trim,
have a feel
to
on
cut
what
through
it
your
is.
line. I mean, with a razor blade, you
That's
definitely
why-
can.
that's why I
Usually
keep
it's on the
that.
belly, and that's why it's important to sink down your GSP all the way to the shank. And that's something that's gonna happen. It's happened to me many times. I've gotten in trouble for it, and that's, yelling real loud at 2 o'clock in the morning because I destroyed my fly that I spent 2 hours on.
That's why I got obsessed with deer hair. Literally, I was just out of the military, and it was so awesome to be pissed off at something that wasn't an idiot driver.
Okay, so I have the eye kind of exposed there. Now what I like to do,
That's dope, man.
because we're gonna have this nose piece, and then you have what's called your collar, right? Skirt in the back, collar right here. So the diver will want to make a collar. I want to cut back through this first spot, so it's kind of, and maybe a little bit into about the first quarter of the next spot. That's just the way I do it. But what I can do is kind of come up at an angle like this and kind of trim back. And I'm kind of keeping this kind of flat to the eye, if you will. And then I'll come on the sides like right here, and I'll do the same thing. I'll kind of come back at an angle. Okay? I'm not coming straight back. I'm going out at an angle. You see that right there, okay?
I'm gonna try to be really.
And I'm trying to do them, and I never trim my belly first, belly last. Just in case your spots are a little bit off, you can rotate your spots just a little bit. And if you trim your belly first, they're set. So it's always a good idea to do your belly last. So I have kind of a blocky type of a shape right here, which is going to end up being round. But when I do it like this right here and kind of go make it kind of blocky like this, it's easier to get everything not, nice and symmetrical like the way I want it. Okay? And you can kind of see the design kind of coming out right there. Can you tilt the camera out just a little bit more this way, just a hair, so I could rotate it like that so there, and they can kind of see the face of it just a little bit more. Okay, you can see it a little bit better. I've kind of done an angle. Now I've got it where I can see everything. Now I'm going to kind of curve my blade, and I'm going to trim
One of
up
those tripods where you have a thing and it
using a
focuses
curve
on the
to
area.
get that
When we
nice
do this class, we just pass it back and forth.
curve look through the first section. I said I want to cut all the way through this first spot. My problem is I'm always the guy behind the camera. I haven't done it in a few years.
Let's come over and tie.
Okay. Now I'm going to start working on the collar. So I'm going to come at the top up here, and I'm going to go deeper, but I want to go kind of shallow at first, and then kind of work my way down into the fly. And I'm going to trim down at an angle, back down towards my skirt. You don't want to trim all, at some point you might want to stop when you start getting through the butt ends and you get close to the tips at the back so you don't cut all the way through them. All right, you may want to use your scissors. But I'm going to get the basic shape of the diver down here. That looks good, and I can tell that I've got my spots pretty straight right there. So now I think it's safe to go ahead and trim the belly right here. Now it's messy.
A lot of you guys are going to have a little thing right here, and one of those little stash trays you keep on your vise, and have your hair all collect right here. That is cool until you sneeze in it, and it explodes in your face. Let it fall on the floor and vacuum it up, because you don't get it out of your eyes for a while. It hurts. But yes, Mark, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
So now I have the basic shape of a diver right here. And now it's kind of some cleaning up. And here's one of the cool methods that I like to use. Once I've got it trimmed back pretty good. I like to go ahead and take it off the vise now. And I like to hand trim it. Okay. And I'll try to keep this in frame. But what I like to do, and this is a great thing, when you break these razor blades in half, you can't do this with a full razor blade. You have to break them in half to do this right here. I like to cut from the back right here up. And if I had the back side of this razor blade on, I would already cut off the back skirt of my fly right here, which I want to keep. So I like to kind of work from the back down, get down in there deep, and then work back up at an angle. And you're always either rotating your razor blade or your fly, just rotating it a little bit, and you just get cleaner cuts. Am I in the frame? Good
Yeah,
enough?
you're good.
Yeah, you're looking great.
And I can already feel this razor blade getting kind of dull, just because the hair is so dense, and it'll go a little bit further.
I'm sitting on my foot. My foot's asleep. We have time.
How much time
We
do we
will.
have?
It's 3:15. We're good. I'm gonna fly through mine. We're not stacking, so it should be pretty easy.
Yep. My spot is not completely straight, but that's all right. Like I said, they're never perfect.
I'm gonna do my part, not have them tie along with me. I'm just gonna speed through it real quick.
Okay.
Bo's still not here.
I got a rough cut on it. Now, and what I like to do is I like to put a little bit more steam on it. I'll try to do this without burning myself. Oops, sorry.
No, you're good, you're good.
Well, I made quite the mess.
I know they're gonna hate it.
And like I said, this top spot is kind of crooked on mine. I usually do a better job than that. When I do put the eyes on it, it'll straighten that first spot out just a little bit. I mean, it's pretty straight, right? But technically it's good enough,
Good enough for government work.
right? Okay, perfect.
How come everybody's so quiet?
Focus.
Got quiet, didn't it? I didn't bring curved scissors, but I'll use straight scissors right here. I like to. No, I'm good. I'll use these, but this will be a good place to use your curved scissors, and go and trim this raggedy edge around the edge right here.
Fire drop shut.
So's mine.
Keep pushing, cut down threads. Watch everything go.
Somewhere out there, there's a dumb bass that's gonna take this.
Yep. I think they're all dumb.
I caught a bass on a Grinch head that I made. Literally just a ball. That was it.
First one I ever seen was a mouse. I thought that thing was crazy.
Well, me,
This one's definitely gonna get fished with, right here.
that's a mouse.
Yeah.
Might go into that too much more.
What else?
It's as wide as it gets.
Oh, it gets brighter. Oh, don't take a picture of this. This isn't mine. This is Mark's. I'm trying to fix it.
Just
Hold on. Give me that white one.
take one out of the case.
No, give me that white one. I need to fix it anyway. There you go. That makes me feel better. Man, the thing is, you can trim a hair bug
Forever.
for hours and just have fun.
Yeah, I'm about done, guys, but yeah, you can sit here and just go. And go and go. But we ended up with good density.
Good something.
That's beautiful.
Thank Thank you. And my spots were like I said, I'm usually a little bit straighter than this. But like I said, for fishing, this one will work just fine. But it definitely won't make it in the magazine. And so that is basically the fancy diver, guys. I think that you guys did good following along right there. I know it's a little frustrating. But I think, like I said, if you stick with some dedication and stuff to tying and stuff, like it all kind of comes together, and you can get this type of density and separation with your spots too. So I appreciate you guys being patient with me.
Now, do you put your rubber legs in after you're done with that?
Yeah, and we can do that. We can stream rubber legs in it. So how much time do we have?
What up?
You said you could fix most mistakes.
Let's see it. Bring it over here.
See if you
How
can
much
fix
time
it.
do we have?
Yeah.
I don't
Here's
know.
another one.
I think we're out. Let me see here.
What's so funny?
Where's Deets?
Here's another one.
Just a little bit of trimming.
Okay, well, we'll stop
Carry away
there.
with the trimming part.
Yeah, usually like this is where I would string through the rubber legs. All right. I think we've ran out of time though. Here.
Yeah.
This is where I'd string through the rubber legs. Pretty easy to do. I usually use an embroidery needle. Some people use bigger needles. And again, that's something that you feel comfortable with. Embroidery needles are a little bit harder to get the rubber legs through the eye, but I always make it work, and that's what I use because it's a little bit less damage on the fly. And then putting your eyes on. Your eyes are as simple as gluing them or resin on the side, carving out a little hole. My method is using like a wood burner. And you can get the different attachments for wood burners. You know, they screw off the tips, and if you order them off of Amazon, like an assortment that has 100 tips in it or 50 tips, it'll have like different circle shapes in it. And usually I'll find one of those that kind of matches that my eyes will fit into. And I burn with my wood burner. I'll burn 2 holes in the side of them where the eyes go. Brush it off, get the black stuff out, and then you just glue your eye into the little divot. Now, it's probably important if you don't have to have eyes on it at all to fish with. If you are going to put eyes on it, and you want it to have eyes. If you don't countersink your eyes a little bit, then they'll just get pulled off after a few fish. If you countersink them and then seal them with some thin resin, it's real solid, and your eyes will probably stay on for 30 or so fish. So yeah, it turned out pretty cool. I like that, the orange through the red.
One second. And then as soon as I get this on there,
Okay.
guys, I'm gonna show you guys.
Okay. Shift over here.
It's Joe's turn here.
I'm just gonna don't follow along. I'm gonna show you guys another technique to put hair on a hook. You're not gonna get dots. You're gonna get stripes. It's really easy. As soon as I get this on there real quick, and then
You're in frame.
all right, there we go. I put it on for. No, this ain't yours.
No, this is.
I know what you're doing wrong now, though. I know everything you're doing wrong. It's very simple, man.
I don't do it a lot. When I do it,
Your problem is really easy to fix.
Hey, thanks for showing us that.
You're welcome.
You know, let's take
So
It's
what I
an
fixed for the
honor to
camera,
work with a
you did it
veteran
on
because
every
I was
single step,
military, and so
which is a technique error, which means it's easy to fix.
for me to come in
It
and
wasn't a fluke.
contribute feels
I'll
really
fix
good.
that in a minute. Are we framed up?
Yeah, you're framed.
Thank you.
All right,
You're welcome. Anytime. I hope that I'm able to do this.
I'm gonna
again next
I'm gonna
week.
do something real quick.
come down to Virginia Beach.
All right, guys, I'm not gonna give a tail or anything, and I'm not gonna do a mono foundation. I'm actually even using the wrong hook.
Was that yours?
Well, keep me posted on
That was
stuff.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll have to
his
find
is here
some
somewhere.
pictures.
Here it is.
Okay.
See if we got some
oh, it's trimmed.
Good.
So I'm gonna show you guys how to put stripes
Yeah,
in the
this is what
easiest
I like
way
doing now
there is.
is instructing. So it's really fun. It's fulfilling. So
Yeah, it always feels good to teach somebody something.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna fly through this real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna fix yours in a second. I just wanted to show this real quick before I was done. I'm gonna take a giant clump of whatever color I'm using. And this is gonna be a thick, bold line. I'm ready to get a color.
That turned out good.
So when I put my thread on, or my hair on top, I'm gonna do 2 loose wraps, slightly flare it, push down on the top, and then push on the sides, and it's distributed equally around the hook. And then I'll run it forward, pick a different color. I'm like in production mode right now.
That's how you get the stripes for that punk rock.
Yep.
Filled my socks up with this.
I know, right? Now flare it, push on top, pinch the sides, tighten it all the way in, and literally that's like how you do spinning. The way you're traditionally taught to do spinning is pretty much math, and it's a lot more difficult to master and get everything equal, which is this. Oh, I should have used a different color. You hold it at a 45-degree angle, do 2 loose wraps. As you start to flare it, let go of the butts and it'll spin. Do 2 wraps, flare it, and you're good. That's spinning. Thanks for enjoying the show.
That's a good one right there.
Does anybody have any questions? You guys did really awesome. Yeah, deer hair is really difficult. You guys most everybody did a really good job without a lot of the tools we needed, and which we'll fix that next year. And but you learn the techniques. If you go home and you do 10 of these over the course of the next couple of weeks, keep that first one, no matter what you think about it. Keep it, throw it in a box, don't look at it, tie 10 flies and get it out, and you're gonna be like, because you're gonna, every time you do one, you're gonna be like, I'm not getting any better. This looks exactly like the last one. And you'll be really surprised.